I'll start off with the roll call of the commission. Please verbally indicate you're present when your name is called. Commissioner Parkins,
Present.
Commissioner Ticky,
Present.
Commissioner Motto,
Here.
alternate Commissioner Cristiano,
Present.
alternate Commissioner McGee. Is he in the waiting room? Mr. Rossetti?
I'm double checking. I don't believe so.
All right, myself, Commissioner Harger, Mr. Rossetti, our administrator,
Present.
Ms. Castro, our assistant administrator.
Present.
Is Attorney Teodoso with us yet?
He is.
Okay. And Ms. Renassos, our recording secretary,
Present.
and Ms. Charbonneau, our stenographer. Is she starting from the beginning of the meeting or coming in later?
She might be coming in later.
All right, so for Commissioner McGee, Ms. Charbonneau, please just give us a heads up. For the record, Commissioner Kelly will not be attending this evening's meeting. So Commissioner Cristiano, you're being seated for Commissioner Kelly. Would you just acknowledge that you understand?
I understand.
Thank you. I would like to make everyone aware that our consultant, Tony Pamico, submitted a letter last week to the mayor to notify him that after much consideration, and due to personal reasons, he has resigned as consultant for our commission. He has graciously offered to dedicate some time in the coming weeks to assist the commission and staff with existing ongoing projects. For those of you who do not know Tony personally and how he became the commission's consultant, I would appreciate everyone's indulgence just to give you a little bit of background about Tony. Tony is a native of East Haven and a graduate of Branford High School. He earned an undergraduate degree in civil engineering from Yale University and began his professional career as an engineer at Sikorsky Aircraft. After receiving a fellowship from Yale, Tony left Sikorsky and returned to Yale full-time, where he received a master's degree in civil engineering the following year. This was when he and his late wife, Jean, were first married, and he said his full-time studies at Yale would not have been possible without the support of his and Jean's family, because he was not working full-time and bringing in an income. Tony then went to work for an engineering firm as a civil engineer before moving to its planning department, where he helped municipalities with various infrastructure projects. After about 5 years, Tony and a coworker from the planning department established their own planning consulting business, Bryan and Panico, in Fairfield, with a staff of over a dozen persons. After the city of Shelton established a municipal planning commission on January 1, 1963, Tony's firm was hired to write Shelton subdivision regulations. The firm then began to provide assistance in the preparation of the city's first long-term land use plan, which was adopted in 1966. In 1972, after being in business with his partner for about 10 years, the consulting business dissolved. Tony then established an office in East Haven and continued to serve as a consultant with the city of Shelton, as well as with for various other area municipalities. Now at 93 years of age, Tony has been in the planning and zoning field for over 65 years, and I definitely consider him to be the diamond standard of zoning consultants. Without his vast knowledge and expertise, City of Shelton would be hard-pressed in its efforts to create exceptional residential and commercial development projects. I hope that all of the members of the commission will join me in wishing Tony well, as he now has the opportunity to truly relax, spend time with his family, play some golf, and enjoy that Florida sunshine. He has told me he's only a phone call away. I asked him not to change his phone number and not to block my calls. So if there's anyone that wants to comment on Tony's separation from the commission, now's the time to do so.
He could never be replaced. That's the only thing I can say.
That's right.
He's just been absolutely amazing and just so helpful and knowledgeable. I just can't imagine the commission without him. We will persevere. We've got some good staff, but those are going to be almost impossible shoes to fill.
That's for sure.
I'll personally say I've been dreading this day. I knew it would have to come.
Yeah. It is.
But his knowledge of everything that's ever happened and his memory about everything that's come before in terms of everything that's developed, and
Yep,
as Ruth said, irreplaceable. And
sure.
not just that, he's a great guy.
Yes, he's just truly a gentleman.
Yeah, no, an encyclopedic knowledge about the town and the history and how it was designed, and
Hmm.
great shooter with all on what was best for the city as we reviewed applications. So
Yep.
certainly will be missed and
sure will.
irreplaceable. They don't make people like him anymore.
I don't think there's anybody that is comparable to him living,
No.
let alone in the future, right? He's just one of a kind, and we were fortunate as a city to have him.
Yep.
On the staff level, just quickly, it's pretty remarkable to see when you look at our files and our maps and you go back 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and you see the same name or
Mhm.
CC'd on every document. It's pretty remarkable. And if you allow it, I think there's someone from the public who would like to comment as well.
Sure. Who are we recognizing, Mr. Rossetti?
Mr. Thomas.
Okay. Attorney Thomas, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Let me just comment that Tony's impact is not only on Shelton. As I do zoning throughout the state and in the case law, Tony developed the first plan development district type of regulations, and that core that he developed is now throughout the state and in many, many towns after Campion and Tillman were decided by the Supreme Court. Tony's view of how zoning needed to take place as we grew has now spread throughout the 169 towns, and his impact truly will not be matched by anybody that I'm aware of.
Mhm.
And I enjoyed working with him and got the ability to golf with him.
Yes.
Well, hopefully he's got many years of golf ahead of him.
That's for sure. So he has family down where he lives. So that's the nice thing. Now that his wife passed away in December. Okay, so moving along, a couple of points before continuing with this evening's agenda. Mr. Rossetti will act as a Zoom meeting host, while commissioners will be able to make comments throughout the meeting. The chair asks that you please identify yourself and wait to be recognized before speaking to make sure that we're not all speaking over each other, and to make sure our recording secretary and our stenographer are clear as to who is speaking. Our first agenda item are applications for certificate of zoning compliance. I understand from Commissioner Motto that the zoning subcommittee met to review each of the 5 sign applications, and staff has provided a summary of the zoning subcommittee's recommendations. So Commissioner Motto, what's the recommendation of the zoning subcommittee for the first one, Modern and Rose 70?
So it might be helpful. Could Alex?
Excuse me one moment. Yeah,
pull up
Alex,
the
if you
summary?
can allow screen sharing.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Okay, we're all set.
Okay. Modern Rose. Okay, so we asked for the phone number and website to be removed from the decal. And
This is
just,
the revised rendering, by the way.
oh, it is, yeah, can't see it. Okay, yeah, okay, that's fine. And it's on a clear window. I mean, it will
Mhm.
be. So
Mhm.
I don't, I think it's just what they're doing work inside, so it's,
I thought
Correct.
it
Yeah.
opened up a week ago Thursday or something. I thought I saw something on social media.
what's
So,
that?
I thought I saw something on social media that it was open.
Open, could be.
There's
They
something-
may have, this is an older
Yeah.
photo.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so
Okay.
that was, so we recommended approval for that one.
Okay, is there
Yeah, condition.
any comments or questions for Commissioner Motto? Okay, is there a motion for the sign application?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve Commissioner Motto, is there a second?
Commissioner Chickie will second.
Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show the vote was 5-0 with no commissioners voting nay and no commissioners abstaining. Commissioner Amato, what's the recommendation for the second piece of cake, 90 Huntington Street?
Yeah, we recommended approval with no, yeah,
Mhm.
no changes suggested.
Okay, so that's being,
It's
instead of
replacing
the dance sign, it's
Right.
the Project Dance will be that. Is it that same size?
Yes,
Yeah, good. Okay, any questions for Commissioner Amato?
No, Commissioner Dickey will motion for approval.
Okay.
Commissioner
Is there a
Christina will
second?
second it.
Okay, so Commissioner Dickey has made the motion to approve. Commissioner Cristiano has seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Let the record show the vote was 5-0 with no commissioners voting nay and no commissioners abstaining. Commissioner Amato, the zoning subcommittee have a recommendation for the third Cedar Villages Suites. Cedar Village. Suites.
Yes, and I think there's a view of this. This is like a lawn sign right there. So you can see how that looks. And we did ask that the phone number be removed because that's generally, we don't allow phone numbers on signs. So apparently the applicant is wanting to talk to us about that. Is that correct?
yes, the applicant is on. Alex, if you can allow in Don Stanziel.
Can we, I just want to see how everybody else feels about that right now. If we want to be consistent about the phone number.
All right, comparing this to the picture in front, the 215 is going to be at the top.
Yes, this was the original.
Uh-huh.
So prior to submitting to the subcommittee, I gave my edits. They came back with this, so this is what was presented to the sign subcommittee, having the number on top.
Right, but it's in that panel. It's not on top separate. Like
No,
some ones do.
it's within the sign. right
Okay.
here.
All right, so Mr. Stanziel is now a participant. Please identify yourself for the record and let us know what you want to say.
Yep, Don Stanziel.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I get it with the telephone number. Yeah, we made a couple changes as requested, but I'm trying to get this. So what we did is we purchased this as is. That was Lynch Law Firm on there. We purchased it from the owner. It wasn't even Lynch that owned the building. And we're going to keep it as is. It's a beautiful building. It's got office suites inside to rent out if anybody needs a small office. So that's why it's hard to do that if I don't have a number. So what's your recommendation? Because I go throughout the town and I know this is what you do. You know, this is, you're trying to get away from numbers on signs, but I did take a bunch of pictures and there's a lot of numbers on different signs. If I can't get it, I'll have to do a temporary sign. I didn't want to do a temporary sign like a real estate sign, for instance. That was there for a year. I mean, that has a telephone number, who to call. So what would you recommend? I get what you're saying and I understand. I wish other people would adhere to
I
their
don't think in
sign.
my memory that we have ever on this commission approved a telephone number on a sign. If there's some out there that have gotten
Yeah.
past this, I believe what you're saying. You've got pictures, but it's nothing that we have ever agreed to.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a few new signs. I'm not saying it, listen, it doesn't matter what
Yeah.
was done. It's what you do now, and I'm happy for what you do now. I'm just trying to see what can I do or do I put a temporary sign up until I fill it up? I mean, what do the real estate agents do when they're trying to?
Yeah, I think, that
This is an
certainly
office.
be allowed. It's an office space for lease.
Right.
I
I'm
would
trying to make it a
personally,
clean.
I would recommend a temporary sign now leasing with the
Mhm.
telephone number.
Right.
These are usually limited to 30 days, I believe, but the applicant can always come back for an extension.
Right. So if we choose to do that, you know, this, I'm not putting, there was a sign here for all this time. It's, I didn't even, I told them, do not remove the post. We were just gonna change the name.
The
So,
post you're referring to, Mr. Stanziel, is
yes,
the post that a real estate agent puts up? Or
No.
those side posts?
no,
Okay,
this was for Lynch Law Firm.
yeah,
The real estate sign was next to it.
okay.
So I didn't change nothing, but wanted to put a new sign within.
Mm-hmm, okay. Are you keeping it to the size?
Yes, exactly.
I'm just wondering if you had something where Cedar Village Office Suites was on one sign and down below, you have the 215 Corm Avenue, and then down below is a separate one. You
Mhm.
have something, instead of having a real estate type sign, you have a separate panel that goes across and mounts to those that can be removed. And that
Right,
could be
now
considered a
leasing.
sign. Yeah, now leasing.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's you, I mean, that would be a great option if I can. And then take it off when it's leased, because I don't need everybody to keep calling me either. So
Right.
it's just, you know, people are looking for something like this, so it would be, you know, nice to let people know. If I don't have a number, they can't call me.
Right.
So, but that's a great, I don't know if you can do that, if it's all right with everybody. If you could, that
I'd
would
rather
work. for
see
me.
it temporarily than permanent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
I'd
I would-
rather, this is Commissioner Cristiano, I would think a hanging off of this sign or whatever version of the sign, a lower hanging sign that says now leasing with the phone number, I think is better than a real estate sign that's going to sit there for 6 months or
Yep.
a
Right.
year is better looking.
Yeah.
Than
So you would have like 2/3 of it would be Cedar Villages, 215 Corm Avenue, a separation, and then a separate lower one that's maybe like the other third
yeah,
that would say now leasing. So why
I
don't you
won't.
that up?
Sorry,
And
go ahead.
why don't you work that up and just submit a sketch to staff?
Yeah, I will, and I won't go anything, then I'll shorten the sign, and then the total overage overall will be that.
Yeah.
All right. I
Is that
will-
number registered to the business? So like if somebody were to call, I don't know if people still use 411, or if they were to search telephone number for Cedar Village, would it come up with that
Yes.
number?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because
Cedar
one
Village.
of the reasons we don't think that phone numbers or email addresses or website addresses are good, because people, for one thing, they don't drive the speed limit, so they're flying down the road. If, you know, only people that are actually walking would be able to read that in time to be able to jot it down or something. So for people to
get
have
you.
to slow down to recall that or take a phone, you know, picture of their phone with it.
Yeah, well, it slows everybody down. It would be nice because that road's a speed road, so.
I know,
anything-
so
yeah.
it's just
Um,
more, it's, you know, sometimes a safety issue as well, so.
I got
but
you. No, I understand.
I like
Yeah.
what's being proposed.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We're just trying to offer a difference of what we do with apartments. It's nice to do little offices.
Absolutely. At first, I didn't realize that it was you, and I'm like, who's stealing the name of Cedar
know.
Village?
Is there another Cedar Village? How could you even say that? Jeez. No, but thank you. Yeah, I'll rework it and deal with staff with it. I will come in with a new picture.
Yeah, it'll probably be on the next.
Yeah, I think
agenda if
we
you
can
need to
approve
go
it.
into that.
Do we have to do it again? Can we just
Yeah, please.
approve it with that?
I'd like to
With
see
that
it.
recommendation and let them work it out with staff.
Well, we could do an approval contingent on the chair looking at it to verify that it is suitable. This chair.
Sounds
and
good.
staff. So if someone wants to make a motion along that line,
Commissioner Ticky will motion for conditional approval based on the final design going to staff and the chair for a review before
Okay.
it's created.
Right.
Commissioner Cristiano will second that.
Okay, so in the motion made by Commissioner Ticky, seconded by Commissioner Cristiano for conditional approval of a revised sign to be shown to staff and the chair. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Let the record show the vote was 5-0, with no commissioners voting nay and no commissioners abstaining.
Thank
Okay,
you.
all right, Commissioner Amato on application number 4, Five Below, 874 Bridgeport Avenue. This is for their permanent sign.
I just want to make a comment that this is
Yeah.
the final revision. We've had 3 renderings. This is our 3rd rendering, so I'm only showing the final one.
Right. Okay,
Yep.
this is more in
All
line.
right, so the one that we reviewed. Excuse me? All right. The one that we reviewed, they had, I think Alex pointed out to all of us that they couldn't put paint on the building to back up the sign. So they came back with like a permanent backup on the sign.
Uh-huh.
And then Ruth helpfully found a nice looking Five Below sign. Yeah, see, that was their next idea.
Mm-hmm.
And Ruth came up with a photograph of another outlet of this company where it was just the channel lettering on the facade. So that's what we suggested that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we told them they could have any color that they want. And there was a little more room for, they could make the letters a little bigger according to our regulations. So it appears that that's what they have done. So this is the first time we're seeing this, but this is based on our discussion and what we had recommended.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How does the rest of the commission,
I'd still like to see them bring it down to be more in line, centered on that sign. It does not look centered. It looks like they're just trying to, get it up as high as they possibly can.
mhm,
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to see them bring it
Mhm.
down a little bit more so that it's more in line with the
Yeah.
facade that the other
Mhm.
signs are on. Sort of like they did the same thing with their, or they did what I'm talking about with their temporary sign about opening. If you go down a little bit or down to their temporary signage signs, you'll show that they've lowered it. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but can you scroll down?
Mm.
The temporary signs are not on this
Oh,
one. They're a separate
Oh,
application.
okay.
no,
I
go
thought they
I
were,
can
down
pull that
farther.
up, but
okay.
Alexandra, go down all the way, please.
I'm sorry.
That's the last.
I'm
Keep
sorry.
going.
Hold on. Okay, all the way down on this one.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Right.
That one.
Up,
Yep.
too
Okay.
Go,
far.
go back up.
That's right.
That one.
There, right there.
All right. Can
See
you
how the temporary sign is centered within?
the picture? Yep.
Oh, I see it. It's below the Five Below.
Yeah. But it still should be lowered so that the base of each letter lines up with the other ones that are already in the shopping center.
Well, if you
Or some
center it
close
on that
proximity.
facade, that facade
exactly.
is bigger. So it's not going to be the same if you
So if you-
center it because it's taller, that facade.
Is the height of that white background correct? Is it going to be that visible? Or is that in proportion to what it's supposed to be?
That's the revised
This is the-
facade, right? That
Yes.
Right. But do we have any restrictions on that? Like when you compare it to the edge? Isn't there another picture that shows the edge? Maybe it was the previous application.
Are,
Could have been-
are you saying that on that picture right there where it says
Sorry.
the first picture on the top where it says 1/3 and then 2/3 on the bottom, are you saying what you're looking for, Commissioner Parkins, is a half and a half, so the Five Below is in the center of the box,
Yes,
top to bottom?
yes,
That's what you're looking for?
yes.
Yeah, because it looks like it's more towards the top
Yeah,
the,
so that it's very visible from
yeah.
the road,
Far,
from
far
Bridgeport
away.
Avenue.
Yeah.
I just
So
think
that-
it just looks out of place being so, it makes it look like they're the anchor tenant and they're not.
Yeah,
So maybe
Yeah.
if they just lower it a little where it's half and half.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
bring it down.
split
I mean,
the
I get
space.
that they want to try to put their temporary signs below it, but they'll have to find some other place to put their temporary sign
Mhm.
because this is a permanent sign.
Ms. Castro, did you find that other one? Is it on the previous rendition? Perhaps that had the edge. Okay, there it is on the side there.
This one?
So that takes up that whole space. And that looks really out of proportion. That big area,
This is the old one.
right?
Oh,
Yeah, but if you look at that sign right now,
Sorry.
go back. If you look at that right now, that's how they have it positioned when they were doing the blue. They just left the Five Below right there. If you go back, can you go back to the one where that was showing all the stores? There, right there, right there. Stop right there. So see that Five Below, that's where they had it previously when they had the good deals or whatever, the rest of the wording underneath it. They just didn't bring it down when they removed those. So I don't know if it's on purpose that intentionally that they left it up there, but it should just be brought down.
Definitely, it's centered. It's not centered, it doesn't seem to me, so. All right, so can staff look into that to make sure that they're not going to install something that is not what we're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on this particular sign? Is there a motion on this particular sign application?
I'll make
I-
a motion to approve the sign as discussed by bringing down and centering that Five Below.
Mhm.
The
So lower the two lines.
lower the channeling letters.
Yep. Lower channel letters. Okay.
Is that all we're voting on right now? Is just that one sign or for the whole package?
No, the
So-
other one's separate.
Okay.
No, I just want to point out, this includes a monument sign, this includes hanging signs underneath, similar to all the other stores have in the walkway
Yeah.
under the overpass.
Mhm.
The temporary signs are separate. They're on this, but they're a separate application, so we'll do that separately, but
Okay, so for the ones that hang underneath that people in the walkway can see, is this the same size as all the other ones?
yes.
Okay, someone has confirmed that they're not gonna be getting an extra big sign or something,
They're the same size.
okay? And I don't have any problem with it, white and blue. So,
no, it's
No,
gonna
there's no
just
blue
follow
there's
the
no blue
monument sign.
background.
Fine.
this isn't
This
the,
On the,
this is under the walkway.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. I
Oh.
understood that.
yeah, it's fine.
Okay, and then how about the monument sign is further down?
No
Okay.
problem with that either.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. All right, so Commissioner Perkins has made a motion to approve with the channel letters being lowered and centered. Is there a second?
Richard Cristiano second.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Cristiano spoke up. So all in favor, please signify by
Yeah,
saying
that's fine.
aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Let the record show the vote was 5-0 with no commissioners voting nay and no commissioners abstaining. All right, Commissioner Romano, what's the recommendation for?
Madam Chair, just a question.
Who is this?
Matt,
Oh, you're not on the screen. Are you participating by phone?
I'm on Zoom. Am I seated because we have a vacancy or no?
No, there is, that's a vacant seat. And there is no person that has been appointed to that is missing. So I consulted with Corporation Counsel and he confirmed that would be the case. that because there is no person in that seat, the alternate just doesn't fill it because there's no person there. Okay?
Okay.
It's a vacant seat, but thank you for bringing that up. Do you have an
No,
idea?
thank you for the clarification.
Okay, do you have an idea, Commissioner McGee, what time you joined us?
It was about 6:28.
Okay, very good.
I was at City Hall all alone. It was very lonely.
You didn't read the agenda.
Oh,
I
no.
forgot. I read
Oh,
it last
no.
week and I forgot.
Okay, get an A for effort. All right, so Commissioner Amato, what's the recommendation for the temporary sign?
Temporary sign, oh. Yeah, I mean, I think they can do those by right, but they're approved with specific dates to go up and come down.
Mm-hmm. And Ms. Castro, how many
Yeah.
temporary signs are we talking about?
This is one over the entryway, one on the side of the monument, and then there's decals on the side that are also removable that say now hiring on the monument sign.
Okay. So if you scroll down that post, that's the one that goes, that is the one that goes on the side of the monument sign
Correct,
at the entrance to the driveway.
correct.
Okay. And those are 30-day signs, right?
Yes,
Okay. Any others? Just above the doorway by the monument sign.
yes. So they have several different, there's 3 different times. So coming soon, the grand opening, and the now open sign.
What's that where it says fence? What does that mean?
That I didn't see that before. They were all here.
Where's
Right.
that?
The top one says fence on the right. Well, just as long as they're not planning to put up a fence, or I don't think there's any fencing in that shopping center, but just in case there is.
Maybe that's a sign terminology.
Yeah, could be. True. All right, any questions for Ms. Castro about this or with Commissioner Amato? So we have 3.
So
Well,
do
I'd
we
just
know the
say
location? Do we know the
they have
location of that
room.
fence sign?
All the signs I have as
I
those.
think they have room on that facade. They just might have to make it smaller. You know, if we center
Right.
the main sign on the facade,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a little less room, but they can just make it a little smaller so it can fit. That's my thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Because the channel letters are going to be the permanent ones. Once they're installed, and they can't install them high so that they can fit the temporary signs in. That's the way they have to have it.
Yeah, and I don't think we wanted all this writing on this. We didn't approve this hot stuff, cool prices. That's not on
No,
the
this is,
final proposal,
this
correct?
this temporary came in prior to our revisions. But I want to
Yeah,
point out,
okay. Yes,
these are 3
none of
different
that.
signs that are going to be placed in the same location. So ultimately, you're approving 90 days worth of signs, up to 90 days worth of signs. So we have the coming soon
Yeah.
that can have 30 days, the grand opening that can have 30 days, and the now open that can have the 30 days, up to.
How can the grand opening be a 30-day sign? A grand
Right.
opening takes place on one day.
They're putting the day,
I think
they
that's
may not use it for 30 days, but the temporary signs do allow for up to 30 days. So the grand opening, I would say, coming soon would be something they post up now. Grand opening is when they know the day of their opening, and the now open is the day of.
I would like to limit that grand opening to a week after the actual opening. It's going to be on social media when they're open, and they could stay open up for 7 days.
Aren't they using that to say it will be, the grand opening will be? They're putting a future date on that.
Yeah, and once
Yeah.
that day
That's
comes
what I would.
from the day after for 7 days, keep it up. But after that, They should switch it to the now open sign. Why keep up grand opening after the grand opening, after the official time that people could go in and
Well,
shop?
I'm not assuming that they are. It sounds like they're gonna say the grand opening will be in, 3 weeks or whatever it is.
Right,
But you're right, it should come down as soon as it's open, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and go to the third sign. That's all.
When they,
yeah.
when they describe these fence signs, and trying to recall the makeup of that plaza, isn't there railings that go along a portion of the sidewalk in front of the stores there? Is that what they're talking about, fence signs?
I hope not. Those railings are for the ramp.
Right,
That
but
goes
if
down
you look at
to
these
level.
signs, there's holes. It appears that they would attach to some sort of fencing.
Is it?
Okay.
And there's no
You-
fencing,
You
it's
could
just-
be
Showing it
correct.
on the-
This was not brought up on the fence, but you could be correct. I will make it very clear that they can't be on the.
Because there's no
fencing.
fencing around that plaza, like a chain link fence. So the only fencing I would
Oh.
think would be the railings that are in front of the stores. I'm just trying to recall what's in that plaza there.
Yeah, there's no fencing. So the only place that these are.
They're
appropriate
showing it
is
under the
bulbs.
main sign.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only place that it's appropriate, no other place. So. Any other comments, questions, or concerns about this one? So are we in agreement? First 30, signed is 30 days, coming soon. The second one for grand opening can stay up for 7 days after the grand opening, and then it goes for no more than 7 days. And the now open takes place after that for 30 days.
How
Sounds
soon are they
good.
gonna put up the grand opening?
We don't have a date yet. They're still
Okay.
in construction.
Has the previous tenant moved out? That was Palm and Abel.
Yes,
They
Are
have?
they gone?
I believe they were Connecticut.
Yeah, there was 2 storefronts, Palm and Abel on the left and Connecticut. Connecticut was long vacant.
I believe to the left was Connecticut, no?
No, Connecticut
The
was
right
on
was
the
Palm
right.
and Abel?
On the left is Palm and Abel.
They're in
So-
renovations right now
For both locations.
for the combined, yeah.
Okay, staff has actually seen that?
They have permits.
Yeah, but has staff gone out and looked at these? Doesn't sound it, so Palm and Abel could still be there. Any further discussion? All right, is there a motion on this particular sign application?
Somebody remember all the conditions?
This is
For the
a
motion?
temporary sign.
These are just for the temporary signs.
Yes, it is, Commissioner Tiki.
Yes, so I have motion for approval for up to 30 days for the coming soon, and then up to 7 days for the grand opening, and up to 30 days for the now open,
I
consecutive.
think, sorry, Commissioner Tigi, I think she said not to exceed 7 days after the grand opening.
That's what he said. No, no longer than 7 days. for
Not,
grand
ex-
opening.
not exactly, but
So
Go ahead,
the-
Commissioner Tiki.
So you're saying the coming soon for up to 30 days, and then the grand opening to be placed.
It's up to 30 days, not exceeding 7 days after the opening date.
Number 2 is not to be up longer than 7 days after the date of its opening. It opens on a Tuesday. They have until the following Tuesday to put it up as grand opening. Then they move to the now open sign.
But when are they allowed to put it up?
The second sign,
Yes.
the 30 days after the first one. And then once it's open, it goes to now open. Why would they want to have grand opening up for 30 days if they've been in business?
Well, because this coming soon is gonna be like spring or fall of 2024, right? It's gonna be the
Mhm.
season and the year. And
Once
so
they
then
know
as
the
they
date,
get closer, like at what point before the grand opening do you want to allow them to put it up? It's gotta be, So it can't exceed 30 days. So you're basically saying if it can only stay up for 7, then it can't go up until 3 weeks prior. It can only go up 3 weeks prior to the grand opening and then stay up for a week.
7.
Is that what you're saying? That's keep within that 30-day
Or
window?
it could go up 30 days before the opening and come down the day of the opening. So
Whatever. They got a 30-day.
I don't know that we need to get concerned about it, frankly. Yeah.
It's just wanted to be for us to make sure that they're just not having signs up for 6 months. It's not necessary. And I
90
think
days.
They won't. So
That's
So my motion is for this sign, which is 3 consecutive signs, one after the other at one location, that the coming soon sign is to not exceed 30 days. The grand opening sign, which is to not exceed 30 days and will be taken down at no more than 7 days after the date of the grand opening. And then no more than 30 days for the now open sign.
perfect. All right, any
perfect, Jimmy. I
Got that
second it.
all out.
Commissioner Amato, did you say you're seconding that?
Yes, I would like to do that. Yes.
Okay, all right.
I
All in
have done
favor
that. Second.
for the motion made by Commissioner Tiki, seconded by Commissioner Amato with the 30 days and no more than 7, as we discussed, as Commissioner Tiki explained, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Let the record show that the vote was 5-0, with no commissioners voting nay and no commissioners abstaining. All right, next on the agenda is ZBO-24-53 Car Station LLC, 40 Oliver Terrace, for a certificate of zoning compliance. Is the applicant present?
Yes, Attorney Dominic Thomas, Conan Thomas, 315 Main Street, Derby, Connecticut, representing the applicant Car Station LLC. I became involved in this matter in the fall. The applicant, and I think should be present, Dwayne Berkey, the owner of the applicant, Dwayne Berkey, had been going back and forth over a dealer's license, used car dealer's license, there was an application drafted to go before ZBA because where he wanted to go was on 40 Oliver Terrace, which is a very large piece of property with large buildings. I think for those of you that might remember, it was the old Satin Corporation building. And I think it had to undergo some environmental contamination, but regardless, we went before, after I became involved in, we reviewed it, and the interesting thing was, and there was some confusion, the statute changed and no longer did dealerships have to go before ZBA to be approved. It could be signed off by the zoning enforcement officer. But in the situation here, you had a very large piece of property in the industrial zone that was came all the way down to Todd Road, but did not front on Bridgeport Avenue. In your Schedule A, you have line 36 and line 36A. Line 36 talks about used and new car dealerships and repairs related thereto, and prohibits them in the IA2 zone. 36A says you can be in the IA2 zone, and you could have a used car, a new or used car dealership, as long as you have 80,000 square feet and you're on Bridgeport Avenue. So we followed through with the variance for the use variance, and it ended off being denied. At the same time, we began, because of some issues of enforcement, we began looking, or I began communicating with the Department of Motor Vehicles, because we were dealing with the issue here of an primarily online car dealership with that deals in higher end used cars, Maseratis, Porsches, and other more expensive cars that are usually purchased at auction and then sold online. There is about 75 in that neighborhood percent of the business is online. The rest of it is there is some in-person business. So I will be coming in, and I'm going to be upfront to the commission. I'm working on a proposal to address the issue of online car dealerships. And I will tell you that in my conversation with the representative from the Department of Motor Vehicles, they are going through, and they went through a situation with Carvana, which is an online car dealerships. And these are car dealerships that don't need 80,000 square feet. They don't need big levels of asphalt with, whatever, signs up, on used cars or anything of that nature. So in my research, what I discovered two things. Number one was that in the case of there's a court case involving a Naugatuck used car dealer that had two dealership locations and had a third location in which he stored his cars. And he was went before the DMV board. He was found to be in violation of the law, appealed it to the court, and the court ruled that you are allowed to have a dealership location and can have a separate location that is not listed as a dealership location for storage of vehicles, wherein you can store the vehicles, wash them, do whatever you need to do to the vehicles, but you cannot sell anything there. You are allowed to let prospective purchasers come down and view the vehicle, but there can be no interaction related to the sale. The sale needs to take place at the dealer location. So once we discovered that, and then based on your May 2022 revision that you did, a substantial revision that you did to Schedule A, you adopted use line item from memory, I think it's 42C, which allows warehousing and self-storage, warehousing and storage, and you allowed it in certain zones, and in the IA2, I believe in IA3 zones, you allowed it as a permitted use. So as a result of that, and because we were in an existing building, I filed a certificate of zoning compliance to allow the client to legally store the cars there. At the present time, the client has, and he wanted to move to Shelton, he's trying to move to Shelton. He has a dealership location in Bridgeport, but he's trying to move into Shelton with the dealership location. And while like I said, I will be making the application to you to amend to your Schedule B to address this issue so that any online car dealership types that do not need outside display, do not need any substantial outside display other than a few cars, and do not need large areas to inventory cars, and do primarily the majority of their business, let's say greater than around 2/3 of their business or so online and the rest in person, can then be able to operate in the IA2 and maybe other zones, LIP zone. I know that the commission, the Rivian, was, they ended up getting a variance in the LIP zone. I have no idea what hardship they had, and there was none, but they gave them a variance to operate in the LIP zone, a repair facility, which I think has to be licensed, I'm pretty sure, by the state, and where people can come in and view computers and stuff. They're not supposed to be a dealer because they're not allowed to be a dealer, and then you approved it with respect to it. So in order to to make my client in accordance with the regulations, I filed a certificate of zoning compliance so that he can store the cars. And I will say that the first application I filed, my version of the site plan was completely wrong, because that's why you shouldn't allow lawyers to draft site plans. And I had put too much of the building. He's occupying 12,000, I think it's 11,900. I rounded it off to 12,000 square feet of the building at 40 Oliver Terrace. I do note that you have a 40 Oliver Terrace for an outside contractor's yard later on the amendment. So this is a property owner that is trying to fill one of the empty buildings. So if I don't know if Alexander wants a screen share, or I can screen share and show you the site plan, that, so to speak, that I drafted, in the floor plan that I submitted today.
Attorney Thomas, how long has your client been in operation on Oliver Terrace?
He's had the cars there, I believe, for several months, if not more.
So this is an after the fact
This is
application?
an after the fact application. When I became involved, there was a pending variance, so we went through with the variance.
Was
But the
variance
confusion
denied?
was,
Yeah.
so you know, the time that was lost, there were several months lost, because apparently, and this is pre-Dominic, apparently, there was, I'll call it a miscommunication as best I can, between planning and zoning and ZBA, in that ZBA was not aware of the statutory change until I became involved and explained to the chairman that there was no location. And he felt that the application was wrong because it was a use variance and it should have been a location application. And I explained to him that the statute had changed and sent him a copy of the statute. The statute had changed last June.
Okay, my understanding from the fire marshal is that no fire sprinkler system tests or design plans have been approved, and no fire alarm system plans have been approved. So
Yeah,
no
I'm not
building
sure
plans were
if-
submitted for approval prior to occupying the building. This is a fire safety issue, public safety issue.
Okay, I'm not aware that with respect to the storage, again, I haven't done it. Certainly the client has to comply with the fire code.
Well, the business
I'm not
activity
aware
up
of,
at 40 Oliver Terrace, according to our ZBA and to our fire marshal, is not that cars have been driven in, parked, the engine turned off, and nothing else happens to them. There has been detailing going on, some repairs. There's also been car washing.
there's no longer any repairs, and washing of the cars and detailing of the inventory is not an issue with respect to DMV. But so that, just like if you were storing your inventory, you were warehousing your inventory, you can take care of your inventory, you can do things. You cannot do repairs. The repairs would not be allowed. And I had a discussion with my client that no repairs, even though the proposal was in the ZBA to be able to do minor repairs, no repairs can be done until there is a dealer's license issued for the site.
Plus,
And,
there was no business, there was no approval for the business. I mean, I don't know how you get a variance before you've even gotten
they
applied for
filed
the
for a
business.
variance. They filed for a
Yeah.
variance, Commissioner Motta, but that was denied.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that should have come after
And so
first
this has been
not
in
getting approval
operation.
here,
This has
right?
been in operation
Well-
since
well,
about
they-
September.
Okay, the application for the variance was filled out and submitted before I became involved in it. It
Mhm.
was done, I believe, by planning and zoning staff, I'm not sure, with or by the applicant with the assistance of planning and zoning staff. And that's where the confusion evolved with respect to ZBA saying, we're not going to hold a hearing because it isn't a hearing, we need to have a location.
Right.
When I
we
became
understand
involved, I straightened it out. There is no question that this is a post-activity application. I am trying in steps, through communication with DMV in steps to bring my client into compliance with respect to this site for the storage of the cars. Obviously, if there's an issue, if there's a code, fire marshal, I'm willing to sit down and go over it with the fire marshal. And I'm not sure whether the building or not has sprinklers already. I'm not sure, but that would have to be addressed separately from planning and zoning, because you can't do it without it. The purpose of mine was that after doing the research, talking to DMV, looking at the case, looking at your zoning, the storage of the cars in this situation is allowed. Cannot do any transactions. I'm more than willing to provide you with the information. So my step was, because yes, the person has to have an approval, even if they're a permitted use. So I explained to the client that we needed to make an application. After looking at everything and reviewing your amendments in May of 2022, because it was a permitted use, the storage, warehousing and storage was a permitted use in the IA2 zone. I filed a certificate of zoning compliance in an effort to make him in compliance, and then was going to do other take other steps. Number one, working with him to possibly, he has a location in Bridgeport. There are other zones in which the dealership is a permitted use, but there are DMV requirements that have to be complied with. So we're taking those steps. And then finally, to approach the commission with because I think separately from my client, the issue of online car dealerships and the issue of them being possible tenants to fill the many square feet of empty industrial and light industrial buildings that are throughout the town of Bridgeport, the town of Shelton. He wants to move to Shelton from Bridgeport, and there's a lot of empty space that can be used up with various kinds of tenants. This is the type of tenant that would fit perfectly into the industrial zone.
So Attorney Thomas, let me
Because
ask
there's no
you,
outside.
you said that your client has an operation in Bridgeport and wants to move to Shelton. Where's that operation in Bridgeport?
The client, I can't give you the exact address. The
Well,
client may be able to.
your client is right there on the screen. Perhaps he could share
Yeah.
us. Where are you operating out of in Bridgeport?
Muted.
You're muted.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, identify yourself for the record, sir.
Dwayne Berkey, Carsation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
where are you working on?
since this all came up, we've been working on, I think Dominic's communicated securing another location, for be compliant with the licensing requirements. The one we're working on right now and getting finalized is 2060 Fairfield Avenue in Bridgeport.
But so that you're not operating out of there right now. You're working
No,
on
we are not operating. We like I said, because we're largely online. Most of our transactions, like 98%, are all consummated online. So it's operating. The website always operates, and we don't really, as he mentioned, we don't do repair work.
Right, but even if somebody has to, you do 98% of your operation online, isn't there at some point you have to have paperwork?
No, I mean, no, it's all done via DocuSign.
Okay, there is no location right now other than 40 Oliver Terrace that you're working out of.
And the one we're working on securing.
Right, that's not secured yet. We're talking about at the present
Correct.
time. Where is your staff working out of?
At the Oliver Terrace.
And really? Okay, and your application is for warehousing. That's administrative work. That's not warehousing.
Well, their warehouses have staff. They have to be able to take care of the car. The issue that
Yes, but their
DMV
staff is doing that beyond that, I think, Attorney Thomas. Wasn't there a situation a couple weeks ago when staff visited the location and came upon a leasing agent who was there to finalize purchase of a car?
So can I speak about that? Since
Sure.
That they mentioned that to me, and there was a couple of things that were largely assumption, which were all assumptions. this was specifically something that Ron Bay had mentioned, that when he came, that a Connex credit union was here to observe a collateral on a car that we were doing a loan on.
Mhm.
And, you know, I've had a relationship with Connex for 6 years, and never once in 6 years has that ever been the case. So afterward, I was like, I went to the cameras and, you know, because I was away on vacation when that happened, and I looked at the cameras, nobody had come in the building. And then I actually reached out to Connex, and I have a rep at the bank, and I said, his name's Mike. I said, hey, Mike, did you stop by to verify collateral car? Because I was in a vacation with my family. And Mike said, no, what had happened was, he goes, I was into Dario visiting them. And he goes, I wanted to see if you wanted to have lunch. I came by the building and saw you were away, and ran into the police being there and the zoning enforcement being there. And he got caught off guard. So he's like, I told him I was looking at a car. And that's the truth. So it was not accurate. Just he got caught in the middle of when the Ron and the police were here.
Mhm. So what kind of, what does the administrative staff, how many people do you have up there then that need to,
Four people.
what are their functions?
Three detailers who do washing, and one assistant.
Assistant detailer,
No, assistant, like who helps me with.
administrative
yeah.
assistant, okay,
Yes.
something along, okay. All right, well, I'm just a little concerned, first of all, that you've been in operation since last fall. You had not come before us, you did not
But
get.
that's not really accurate. I think the dates were a little off there. Obviously, in full transparency, I didn't expect this to take that long. It was early in the year when this happened. It is and you can confirm this. They lost our file the first month it was supposed to be heard. The office misplaced our file, so it wasn't heard the first month. And then, as my attorney mentioned, there was an argument over who was going to hear it the following month, so they adjourned it for that meeting. And I was trying as hard as I could to obviously, do this within the parameters, but I couldn't extend the current lease where I was at that time any longer.
Mhm.
So it's only been a couple months.
Well, we just want to make sure that an application not only is filed correctly, but what's represented in the application is what will be happening at that. So does anyone from staff want to make any comments about any instances around this?
We have our zoning enforcement officer online as well, who was visiting the site.
I can speak, Ginny, if you want. It's Ron Baya.
Yeah, Mr. Baya, go ahead and identify yourself for the record.
Ron Baya, zoning enforcement officer, city of Shelton. So this has gone back into the latter part of last year. I'm not going to sit here and be able to remember every single minute of every single correspondence or action that we took, but I can highlight a few different things. At first, I think Mr. Berkey was warehousing some of the cars, I think, in a down below location, and then they remodeled and made sort of a showroom at 40 Oliver Terrace on the upper level where he is now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Attorney Thomas, and listening to him speak, I think he is correct when he says, yes, they are looking to warehouse in one location and find the location to the sales out of. I think that's probably, I think Attorney Thomas has been around long enough to know that's the route they're trying to take, and that's the right route. In the meantime, there's been several instances of what we think has been sales based on what we know from online. We have online reviews of people who claim they bought cars from 40 Oliver Terrace, car station / skedaddle. A series of events have led us to what we issued a cease and desist back a month or so ago. And when we issued the cease and desist, the day of the cease and desist, myself and Officer Anderson were there when we bumped into the Connex Credit Union representative. The fellow came in, Officer Anderson asked him, do you work here? He said, no. He was wearing a Connex Credit Union jacket. It was pretty evident that he was representing the credit union. I don't know in what capacity. He said he was there to look at a car. I mean, when you look at a car and you're from a credit union, we're figuring you're looking to verify that the car exists for maybe loan purposes or like Mr. Berkey said, for collateral purposes, whatever that may be. I don't know exactly. So I'm not going to get into who's right or wrong with that, but I know that that was all, it's documented. It's on body camera from Officer Anderson. So it did happen. We've had that kind of instance. I also accompanied the fire marshal a week ago, and when he did his walkthrough, and Chairman Harger, you stated that there were issues from the fire marshal's office, and those were probably picked up on that inspection that we did. There's several issues there with this sprinkler system, and several other items that the fire marshal. We had open junction boxes. We had a whole bunch of we had a myriad of issues that we walked through that we picked up on. That being said, we also got in correspondence with the owner of the property and Mr. Berkey. This person was supposed to be, and the DMV said that he was running out of a license out of a Bridgeport address, which he doesn't occupy anymore and hasn't occupied since the middle of last year. That lease had been broken, we found out recently. So he's been in 40 Oliver Terrace, and all we want to do is, I can't sign off on something that's not allowed in that particular zone. That's the long and short of it. And we'd like to see we want everybody to succeed. We don't want to turn away business in Shelton, but it's got to be done properly and the right way. So, that's what the office is doing, is just trying to halt something that's not supposed to be going on at that address. And now with Attorney Thomas involved, hopefully this will move in the proper direction. We're hoping that that's what the end goal is. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. In addition to that, if you have any questions that I didn't touch on, that something that you want to ask, I can try to answer it. But that gave you pretty much the long and short of it from this office. And I've worked on it. Mr. Rossetti's worked on it, and Alexandria Castro has worked very hard on this as well. I mean, extremely. The three of us have all worked in unison on this particular matter.
Okay, any commissioners have any questions for our CEO? Okay, so the bottom line is this is a use that's not permitted in the IA2 zone.
This is the use that is permitted. The proposal use that's permitted, the storage uses are permitted as a right in the IA2 zone.
Right, but what about all the other things going on?
There's no, he cannot, and I put it in there. He cannot, that's in the case law and everything, cannot operate the dealership, cannot transact anything on that site. The use that I applied for is a permitted use. And I will tell you that, number one, I was a little stunned that police officers were involved in zoning enforcement. They're normally not. But I did immediately go to DMV and have a conversation with DMV. And DMV is dealing with the same thing with Carvana. They have required Carvana to finally locate a brick and mortar building somewhere to be able to do it. But they admitted they are trying to address the issue of car dealerships. What they've done is they now have a limited repair license, but most of the repair licenses come through dealership licenses. And dealerships were, like you've seen used car dealerships where they load up a lot with a bunch of used cars and stuff like that. And there's requirements that they have the ability to repair, although many of them don't do any of the repairs. So realizing what had gone on, and I do want to mention something about the cease and desist that is very interesting. As soon as I received the copy of the cease and desist, I filed an appeal. And the last time I checked on the law, when you file an appeal, you're entitled to a hearing. And when I returned from a short trip to visit my granddaughter, I came back and was greeted with a response from the Zoning Board of Appeals that they had received my appeal and denied it without a hearing. So we did address the cease and desist to say that what we are doing is applying just in this situation in accordance with the case law for warehousing and storage. That's all we're applying for here. I am taking steps to both find their location, hopefully in Shelton, because there are several areas in Shelton that it would be allowed. We've got to comply, but also to approach the commission to see if there's an interest in the commission in allowing, again, with substantial restrictions, these type of online car dealerships in your IA2 and possibly your LIP zones, so that they can operate where they don't need a lot of outside space, display space, or anything of that nature.
Attorney Thomas, as part of what's been going on Albert Terrace with the detailing and car washing, is what kind of system do they have in place for drainage for the water? If they're on the top floor, is there any problem that you're creating for the lower level tenant that is there?
I don't know, maybe the client can answer.
Yeah,
I'm not-
there is floor drains installed here.
And they're operational?
Yes, they are.
And they have not, there has not been any damage or intrusion of from the onto the lower level tenant?
No, there is not.
Okay, you're on the
And,
board.
and please note, I
Chair.
did,
Yeah, Ms. Castro, you wanted to say something?
Yes, so there is flooding as reported by the owner of the building. If they're doing any type of power washing, that needs to be reviewed by the sewer department, the engineering department. They have not been contacted. So in regards to that is not an accurate statement. And the tenant applicant has been contacted by the building owner on this specific situation of the flooding going into the lower level tenants, which I believe is Reza, something along those lines. So that is not accurate. Also, in regards to the ZBA hearing, there was a hearing. Ron spoke at it. I believe timing of picking up the applications, but the chair voted, the commission voted at the meeting to add that onto the agenda, and there was in fact a hearing.
they did that without contacting me at
Are you
all.
referring to the ZBA, Ms. Castro?
So the ZBA added
Okay,
onto the meeting.
That's not P and Z, so it's a separate issue. So-
Yeah,
All right, so any comments, questions, or concerns from the rest of the commission on this particular application?
I'm not gonna be able to sort this out, frankly, but
My
I'm-
head's circling too. I just like,
I-
there's so many twists
just
and
don't
turns to
know
this
how-
application.
I don't
The
know
only
how
thing
ZBA
that-
would be acting on something that isn't an approved business to start with. How would they? I don't get that.
Mhm.
well, this warehousing and
You
storage.
don't have to answer that. I'm just saying,
Well, I mean, it is a permitted use. That's what.
permitted use,
filed for
but when
is
it's
just
been
to pr-
approved by fire and all these other entities, it's a permitted use, but it still has to go through a process of being reviewed by staff to make sure that they
Yeah, no,
meet all
I-
the requirements, and they haven't done that apparently.
I'm
Not at all.
understanding, with respect to the fire marshal, I understand there are sprinklers, but he had some questions about it, and certainly any approval could be
Fire
conditioned on
marshal and now
compliance. It always
water
is.
problems and all the rest. So it may be a permitted use, but it doesn't mean you can just start doing it without going through a review by the staff to make sure that everything is in order and allowable.
Mhm.
Right? Am I right? Am I just?
Well, you can make them conditions upon going through. As far as the issue, my communication, which was only via email with the building owner, she was very happy to have a tenant, or he was very happy to have a tenant.
That's a
And
business
no mention
decision.
was
That's
made of
not
any
something
issues.
that applies to what we're talking about. Any
Yeah.
Well, I
property
was talking
owner
about the
that,
complaint about the water that was never raised. I don't know if
Yes, can I
the
mention
cli-
something about that? So the
Yeah.
thing that I think Alexandria is referring to is there was a time when we pressure washed the floors to clean them because the prior tenant and some water did go down. It was nothing to do with cleaning cars. That was one time and it was a little amount of water and we stopped, but it was only because we were cleaning the floors before we started storing cars here. It had nothing to do with washing cars. They've never had an issue with that.
Did it occur to you to go downstairs to see if that was going to be a problem?
I did, and I spoke with them, and that's why we stopped.
Well, no, I'm talking about before you started, you know? So I've never been a fan of after the fact applications because this is what it leads to. Somebody setting up shop somewhere, doing something that the commission has not reviewed, has not approved, and the other departments have not weighed in, have not signed off on things. This could be a perfectly lovely business to have here, but issues have been raised.
So how do they get this before the fire department, et cetera, et cetera? Because the only thing I remember about this property is I believe there's outside storage or recycling of materials, trees and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And I recall it catching on fire a few years back. Everybody at first thought it was the recycling center, but it turned out to be the wood chip pile or something that was creating a lot of smoke. So if that's associated with the business that's also occupying this building, I would be very concerned that there's not fire department approval or fire marshal approval.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if it was this, again, this was satin. I thought the fire was, if I can I screen share and bring up the site so you can look at it and you can understand the size of it? Let me see here. Everybody see my screen?
Yeah, we see the, okay, now.
Yeah,
it's here.
I don't think the fire was on this. I thought the fire may have been on the old, owned by the Outlaws. I can't think of the name of the, company that was back
Recycling.
here.
Yeah,
Huh?
the recycling center in the back.
Is that the recycling? Is that the recycling center in the back? Because I don't believe that anything is on here. This is a 2019 air photo. And I don't think there was anything on here. And I do believe, I mean, as far as wood chips that I'm aware of, there, you can see there were containers. And there's also an area in here. And then this is Oak Ridge is over here. And I believe, and I can't think of the Outlaws business, but like I said, whatever it is back there now, I'm not sure. But the where the client occupies is right here. And again, it's a very large 10-acre parcel of.
Is that a new building?
No, that was
No.
Set in America. That's been there for years. That is where a number of years ago, we had an application for doggy daycare, kennel kind of location.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff up there.
Yeah. All right. So how does
Yes.
you want to proceed on this particular application? My concerns are this is something that's been in operation. It has no fire marshal sign off on it, no building department sign off on it. And I don't particularly care for
You
this continuing.
you wouldn't get those sign-offs till after zoning approval.
And in the meantime, are all the cars going to be moved out of the building and it has become vacant and no employees are going to be there?
Well, no, our hope is if you were to act on it, we would immediately, communicate with and resolve the issues. It sounds to me from the comments that were made by Ron Baya that the issues, and I don't know if the client can comment on the issues that the fire marshal took, but it sounds like to me they're simply resolvable. I believe there is sprinklers in the building, but I'll let my client comment on
Yeah,
that.
so the sprinklers are working in the building. The fire marshal communicated to the superintendent that I guess the prior use was there was some office space that there's about, I think there's like 60 heads, that 37 of them needed, where the offices were before, need to be relocated to be pointing up versus down. And I've been getting,
Superintendent.
what's that?
Who's the superintendent?
Lou, his superintendent of the building, his name's Lou.
Okay.
But he spoke at the fire marshal, and I've been working this week on getting a couple estimates to do that. There is a building department approval for permits for the work done. It's the only thing I think at this point that needs to be addressed is the sprinklers.
Mm-hmm.
I want to point out that the building department approval was specifically to remove partition walls, paint and clean up to prepare for a future tenant. And the zoning notes were, this permit does not approve or allow any future business occupancy. This is for renovation only. I also have a letter that I received from the fire marshal today that does not agree with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
So if this had been done normally, what would step one be? It seems like they need to start with step one.
A business occupancy would trigger all the different departments. It's all in one application. And so this was not done. And prior to occupying the space, they need to receive a CO from the building department and the fire marshal's office. That hasn't been received. There's more work done in that building than the permit approved for. A stop work order was issued. They were asked to vacate the premises, become compliant, and he's still occupying the space. The fire marshal has not been contacted regarding the work.
The client's on mute in case he's trying to speak.
So that's incorrect. There was a stop work order initially. Then there was a second building permit issued for the additional work. There's no other work that's been done that is not on the building permit, zero. And there's a second permit. You can look it up with the town of Shelton for the work that was done.
There are two permits. Both are for removal of a partition wall, adding a partition wall. One was done on August 22nd. One was done on September 11th, and both comments state does not grant occupancy.
That's why we are here with this post-activity application.
Yeah.
And we're addressing the fire marshal concerns. We're trying to address the issue and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Is what we're trying to
I
do.
know
And this is
I
the
realize
first
it's
step.
not part of this application, but we just hate to see this, ask for forgiveness rather than permission, right? So is there anything in our, I don't know, whether it's through an ordinance or what, that provides some sort of repercussion for people who do this to deter them from doing it, whether it's done on purpose or whether it's done mistakenly? Do we have any fining? I know we don't have any fining authority.
Through Connecticut general statutes, we do.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a procedure for that.
All right, well, I think we may need to look at, I'm not going after this particular applicant. I'm just saying that we see this and it should stop. There has to be some sort of mechanism to make it stop. Whether it's done by accident or done on purpose. So, but I don't think it's fair to, I think somehow we have to allow this application to go forward. I just don't know what that mechanism is.
Mm-hmm. So Attorney Teodoso, do you have any thoughts on this?
Ruth, I think you changed your direction with your last statement. Your original question had to do with what can we do as a municipality after the cease and desist order is issued. You bring an action on behalf of the city asking for an injunction from the state of Connecticut through a court action. We don't have any provisions in place for fines.
We don't have any what?
Provisions in place for fines.
All right, so does any commissioner want to make any kind of motion on this particular application with contingencies or not?
I think Ron Baya has he has a hand raised.
Chairman Hardrick, can I just add one thing?
Sure.
In my past life, I guess, shouldn't this building be deemed safe? even though warehousing is an as of right permitted use in the IA2 zone, but shouldn't it be clearly safe through the building department and fire marshal's office that before
Absolutely.
anybody occupies it as a warehouse? Because what if, God forbid, there's a fire there and the sprinkler systems are not corrected and they're not working properly and something tragic happens? I don't know. I've never seen this before where the building department, it's not, this building should be safe. That's all I have to say. I don't want to make this any longer than it already is, but this building should be safe prior to anybody occupying it. Even if cars are just sitting there, they are flammable. They have gasoline in them. They have things that could ignite. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, I think our CEO raised a good point.
So would one option be to, they've already issued a cease and desist, correct? Would an
Yes.
option be to make them remove everything and then
Well,
begin anew with a new process?
The cease and desist is under appeal. The fact that the commission, the ZBA added it to the agenda on their own without notifying me and held a hearing, I guess, without the person there, is a basically gift to me for an appeal of what they did. Now, I'm going to write to the chairman and say, if you want to do it correctly, I'll be glad to appear before you. But let's get straight. They have, in my opinion, and I'll defer to Attorney Theodosia, the ZBA had no authority, none, to do what it did.
Okay, well,
On
that's
my
a
appeal.
ZBA action. Commissioner Parkins asked, what is it that we could do or should do? Attorney Theodosia, can you help us with that?
I already said what the process is. If you want that building, if you want that cease and desist order to be enforced, I have to take it to Superior Court with an injunction. This whole other discussion with regard to the ZBA, this is the first that I'm hearing about an application to the ZBA. You appealed cease and desist order that that was issued, Dominic?
Yes, the ZBA had the variance appeal. You entered an opinion. They delayed their decision an extra month. They voted to deny the variance. At the time I received the cease and desist order, the copy of the cease and desist order, I immediately went and filed, and it was not that many days, I think April 22nd. I believe it was April 22nd or sometime around there, sometime earlier. The minute I got it, I filed an appeal to protect.
Appeal
and at the
to
same
the
time,
zoning
then
board of
filed it.
appeals?
To the zoning board of appeals. That's where you appeal cease and desist
Correct.
orders. Yes. And then when I got back from my little vacation, I got a notice that they had held the hearing and denied it.
Well, was there a hearing scheduled?
Not that nobody told me about one.
Well, I mean, you appealed it. Did they have their regular meeting? And was it something on the agenda, or was it a
I was
special?
given, normally the appeals are done by public hearing, by notice. I did the appeal. I don't think there was enough time to put it in the paper for an April meeting or anything of that nature. So, but even with that, nobody gave me the courtesy of a phone call to say, are you available that night? We're going to have the hearing, because I think I was away the night of their April meeting. I'm assuming that's when they had it, was at their April meeting.
Did you look at
So
their
anybody
agenda?
knows-
I didn't look at their agenda. I just filed. I would get a notice. Normally, the procedure is I get a notice that they're going to have a hearing. I'm the one who filed it. My name was on the application. I mean,
It was not on the agenda that was posted on Shelton's website. It was not.
Oh,
on
that's
there.
right. Alexandria said they added it to the agenda.
And add
It
it to
was,
a
I
regular-
have the legal notice in front of me from the Connecticut Post, and it's dated April 10th. City of Shelton, Board of Zoning Appeals, to whom it may concern. The following having applied to the Shelton Board of Zoning Appeals for certificate of approval. Public hearing on such applications will be held on Tuesday, April 16th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the hearing room of the Municipal Building, 54 Hill Street, Shelton, Connecticut. And this is the second item that says application 0124-01, Car Station LLC of 118 Lindley Street, Bridgeport, Connecticut, for the property located at 40 Oliver Terrace, Shelton. Bernhard Thomas LLC of 281 Pequot Avenue, Southport, Connecticut, owner, for a use variance to permitted uses Schedule A, line 36, to allow for the use of an industrial structure for the sale of autos in an IA2 zone.
Right, that's the variance application. They had already closed the public hearing. It was on the agenda for them to act that night because they did not act in March. That's not the appeal of the
No, I know.
season.
This is the legal notice for the April 16th meeting at which it later denied the use variance.
Right, they acted, the public hearing was closed. They did not act when they closed the public hearing in March. They put it on the April agenda to do it. It had nothing to do with the appeal of the cease and desist, which was filed in April. So on April whenever, 20-something, they must have held a hearing, and as Alexandra said, they added it to the agenda and acted on it without notifying me. The appeal of the cease and desist.
Can I say one thing, if I may?
Go ahead.
The cease and desist was for the sale of automobiles at 40 Oliver Terrace, which inevitably was denied by ZBA. Wouldn't that make that a moot point anyway at that point? I mean,
exactly. My client was no longer selling out of that location, which was the point of my appeal.
I understand that, but I'm saying is they decided to, I guess, hear the appeal that they did hear the appeal, Dominic. Attorney Thomas, but you were out of town, I believe.
You can't. Okay,
Maybe they considered it a moot point.
Yeah. If it was a moot point, that they still should. It's not. Whatever.
Understood. I understand. Yeah. Understood.
Well, I am reading this legal notice as the notice that there is going to be a meeting on April 16th. It was posted on April 10th, and it was for 2 applications, and the second one was for a use variance to permitted uses, Schedule A, line 36, to allow the use of an industrial structure for the sale of autos in an IA2 zone. This sounds like it was the initial hearing for this.
Right. No. They had.
Why would it say at the beginning, Attorney Thomas? It says the following having applied to the Shelton Board of Zoning Appeals for certificate of approval. Public hearing on such applications will be held on Tuesday, April 16th at 7 p.m.
What? The public hearing in the application I made had been closed. They had it in February and March. We had 2 public hearings on the variance. That is their normal routine language from any notice. All they were doing was acting, and they had no need to actually publish it because the public hearing was closed in March. I was there. I mean, I was
not the notice that a decision had been rendered.
This sounds like a matter that needs to go to court.
This is Commissioner Ticky. I haven't said anything.
Go ahead.
We've been on this for a very long time. We have a very full agenda tonight. I think some of the pieces that we're discussing are beyond planning and zoning's purview. And so Corporation Counsel was asked twice. He talked about an injunction. I don't understand why some things can't be prepared so that when it comes to us, we could deal with things within our purview. If the city should go for an injunction, if we need a motion on that, that seems like that's beyond us. We could table this. Ms. Castro talked about fees in line with state statutes. If this business is out of line and is not approved to be there, then whatever we need to do or the city should do with those associated fees. But I think we could talk in circle for another hour because it seems so complex and based on other commissions that are not our own that we can't speak to. So I just want to be mindful of the time and that there's other applicants that we need to get to tonight.
I appreciate that very much, Commissioner Ticky. I agree. So Attorney Tedosco is a motion in order to table and to refer to Corporation Council for further action.
But you have 3 points here that you have to understand. There's a question with regard to what happened at ZBA. I cannot bring an injunction without the directive of planning and zoning. That is a step planning and zoning has to vote. You can't just decide that because the zoning enforcement officer issued a cease and desist, that I am now bringing the action on behalf of the city. That's a policy decision. That sits in your board. So that's one of the reasons that this topic is here. Thirdly, this is, you pardon the expression, is ass backwards. I don't think you should take any action on this application. And I think the applicant should come back with some information with regard to what the various offices have done concerning approvals or non-approvals. There's to be no activity out of this facility during that time.
Okay, so is the motion in order then for the commission to take no action and for staff to document the activity happening in that may be happening in that particular facility? Is that the right way of stating it?
I think that your fire marshal has to order whatever he needs to order with regard to the compliance here. Candidly, it's supposed to be the other way around, but they've started their operation beforehand. So I think that this is the most appropriate way to deal with it. Get these approvals in place before you give the authorization.
Okay. All right, so it would be a motion to table and for all approvals to be obtained.
The various departments in the city that have jurisdiction over this have to be satisfied.
Okay.
Your fire marshal, your building inspector.
Mm-hmm.
In writing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is there someone on the commission that would like to make a motion to that effect?
Commissioner Ticky will motion for that.
Okay, is there a second?
Could we clearly state that motion again, please?
That this is a motion to table this discussion till a future meeting. And at that future meeting, our hope is that we will have in writing the approvals and documentation that we always get regarding this before we take any action.
From
To
all
approve a
appropriate
certificate of
departments?
occupancy, in order to be able to approve
Yeah.
a certificate of occupancy.
Yeah, it's a certificate of occupancy.
Okay. All right, does everybody understand the motion? I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Amato. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Let the record show that the vote was 5-0, with no commissioners voting nay and no commissioners abstaining. Thank you. All right, we will move on to our next agenda item. Next agenda item is new business, application 2408, PDD 48, Dominic Thomas for rodeo cannabis at 504 Bridgeport Avenue, assessors map 51, lot 9 for a minor modification to a PDD to allow drive-through sales. The commission does have the discretion to determine if a modification to a PDD is a minor modification or a major modification. I feel the proposed change in use changes the regulation. That is not the same type of activity that had been conducted by the previous tenant. And that was confirmed by Corporation Counsel in his legal opinion at the end of April, when an application for a certificate of zoning compliance was on the agenda. Therefore, I believe that this application should be processed as a major modification and a public hearing held. How do other members of the commission feel about this particular approach?
I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Amato.
Amato?
Commissioner Cristiano, I agree that it's a significant change to what was presented.
Mhm. Any other commissioners?
Can I address that issue? Because
If
it's
you give me a
not,
second, Attorney Thomas, was just asking, other commissioners what.
I would
their
agree as
opinion was.
well. You know, this commission is very concerned with drive-throughs for many developments, and we typically ask for, you know, queuing and all kinds of things like that to determine whether it's a proper use of it. And we're not going to have that here. We're going to go just, oh, it'll be the same as what the bank said, you know, the bank gave us. I think this is a much larger operation than what would see normal bank traffic, if you will. So I agree, it's a major modification, and I would recommend a public hearing.
I agree, Commissioner Parkins. You know, when we just recently went through extensive conversations approving McDonald's and the conversations about the queue for the drive-through there, the double lane lines, the number of cars, the distance, all that. And obviously it's a totally different business, but there was tremendous amount of conversations and research that went into that. It's a lot to think that this potential volume would be much different. And then obviously the makeup of a bank drive-through is not designed for that,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Okay.
You know, we
it's
have a
not
lot
an
of
application for
conversation about
drive-through. It is not
McDonald's.
an application for a drive-through. You're not reading the application correctly.
What does it, I have the
It's
application
a
here.
pickup, it's a by appointment pickup window. And it's clearly spelled out in the statement of use, very clearly what it is. It is not a drive-through. That you just drive up and say, I want to order. That cannot happen in these places. There are numerous ones of these throughout the state, not numerous. I think there's 3 or 4, 2 or 3 operating and 2 or 3 in construction where they have adapted old buildings. This is a situation, if you read it, where you would go online, if you have an account, you would make an order, and if you wanted to be able to pick it up, it's also used for those in case this building, and we'd have to come back to the commission in case it came in as a hybrid, in other words, a medical marijuana, where people could make an appointment to pick it up. And I think I've estimated, based on what the clients have told me, that there would be, because of the process that's involved, probably 10 pickups in an hour. And it is not the drive-through that you drive up and order. That is not this situation. And that's why I clarified it in the statement of use.
It could still cause a queuing backup in front of those businesses that are relying on people to be able to pull in and park.
Not at basically 10 per hour with coming in for basically by appointments. It would be nowhere near what it would be like in the bank there.
Commission has no authority to monitor that, Attorney Thomas.
Well, okay, we were talking about, Panico earlier, who was the developer of the PDD. You have, and Commissioner Ticky pointed this out at the last meeting, this is a retail use. This is a retail use we're coming into that is an approved use and the ability to go in there. Certainly, if the commission, if we were holding, and I don't think it's not a major modification at all, it's a simple retail use coming in. That's why I filed it as a minor modification, with the understanding that the correct way to do it was the certificate of zoning compliance, which is what you do all the time with respect to replacing tenants as long as the use is permitted, and this is a permitted use. Certainly, if we were having a hearing and I have my clients here, you could express your concerns and they might be able to address your concerns. And I think they would be able to address your concerns about the window, which is not a drive-through, it's a pickup window.
But we
It is
don't
a
know the
window.
parameters of that pickup process, and
That's
it
why
could
the
be very
clients are here.
complicated, right?
Attorney
So
Thomas, you also got to
hear all
realize
of
that there's conditions that come with PDDs. And this is one of them, that the commission has the discretion to consider whether something is a major or a minor modification. And if we just start just willy-nilly just saying, oh, that doesn't matter anymore, this doesn't matter, signs don't matter, it just totally negates the whole purpose of PDD. So that's,
I mean,
that's where I stand on it.
again, we're replacing a tenant, and I understand you know, if this is because of the type of retail use that you're dealing with, you're correct. You have the right to make it. I just want to remind you that both applications are pending.
That's fine. Any other comments from the commission?
Yeah, I did not think that it was a major deviation.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Tiki. All right, so how does the commission want to act on that? Do you want to, is there a motion to accept for review and for staff to set a public hearing?
I'll make that motion, Commissioner Parkins.
Okay, is there a second on that motion?
Commissioner Christina, I'll second that.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so Commissioner Parkins, am I correct? There's a motion to accept this application for review and for staff to set a public hearing based
Accept it as a
on,
major modification, right?
based on the feeling that we, that it is a major modification. Commissioner Cristiano, do you agree with that?
Right, that's why I second, yes.
Okay. All right, so on a roll call vote, Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Cristiano,
All right,
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
and Commissioner Harger votes aye. The motion is passed by a vote of 5-0. So staff is directed to put this item on the agenda for a public hearing. Okay. Next, we are going on to the next agenda item, application 2409. PDD number 107, Dominic Thomas for BWiz LLC at 0 and 453 River Road, Assessors Map 66, lots 3 and 4 and portion of 19 and 20 for a minor modification of the PDD for the relocation of the driveway entrance from River Road. Let's see, my notes say, is there a motion to accept for review?
Commissioner Parkins will make a motion to accept for review.
Okay, is there a second?
Commissioner Tiki will second.
Thank you. So on a roll call on the motion made by Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Tiki, Commissioner Cristiano,
all right,
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 5-0. So Attorney Thomas, I see you're present. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed.
Yeah, Attorney Dominic Thomas, Cohen and Thomas, 315 Main Street, Derby, Connecticut, representing the applicant. Very briefly, to just preliminary, before turning it over to Paul Villatano, the engineer, I'll give you some background. When this project first came about, we had a work session with, I believe, the chairman, Member Kelly, your staff, and Tony Panico. And at that time, the plan had showed the driveway and approximately the location that we'll be discussing tonight. At that point, it was requested that we possibly relocate the driveway in our application and our plans that we're going to come forward to tee it off of Jordan Avenue. There was some discussion that there should be some discussion with the state. So it was teed off of Jordan Avenue. That's how you approved it when we went to OSTA, when the application was then presented to OSTA, the Office of the State Traffic Administration. They took a look at it, and there was a discussion back and forth as to the speeds that needed to be assessed on River Road. When that was finally resolved, the request was made by OSTA to obtain a sightline easement over the adjacent property, which at that point I commenced a negotiation with the owner and the owner's attorney, and we, I guess the best way to describe it, wasted a month and a half going back and forth, drafting an easement, discussing the terms, only to be at the very end of the discussion, and the owner rejected the easement. He did not want the easement. He felt it would impact future development of his property. So at that point, we went back to OSTA, and OSTA said, fine. The recommendation that they made was to relocate it 80 feet to the south, which is basically back into the original concept plan location before we even filed an application in order to do the correct safety site guidelines. And OSTA's position was that they did not feel, given traffic volumes and everything, that there was any issue with teeing it off of Jordan Avenue. And with that, if there are no questions for me, I would turn it over to Paul Vitiliano from VHB.
Attorney Thomas, Madam Chair, Commission members, my name is Paul Vitaliano. I'm Director of Land Development for VHB in our Connecticut office at 100 Great Meadow Road in Wethersfield. I'm basically going to repeat most of what Attorney Thomas said. He basically summarized everything perfectly. I'm basically just going to show you folks the plan and answer kind of any more technical questions you may have. So I'm going to share the plan if that's all right, Madam Chair.
I think that would be helpful. I'm very confused at this point. I just felt like we just went around a circle again.
Yeah, basically what it is the entrance is being shifted. This is the original plan, Mr. Vitiliano.
So you could call me Paul. Yeah, I'll explain it.
Well,
It's
we gotta
much
be formal here.
it's much simpler than the previous application. I promise you, as far as understanding it, at least. So you're correct. This is the previous application. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. So I know this is Jordan Avenue. Our previous plan said Jordan Lane. So the current application that was approved is this configuration. So this is a plan from earlier, and you can see that our driveway entrance into the site here is lined up basically a T with Jordan Avenue. You see this right here. So as Attorney Thomas said, the OSTA process, basically they take a deeper look at it once P&Z approves it. So once they took a deeper look and asked us to change the way we looked at the sight line, they basically acknowledged or told us that our sight line would run through this neighbor here. And because of this curvature of the road basically curves to the north. They want us to get a sightline easement through here. As Attorney Thomas stated, we were unsuccessful in doing that. So the DOT said you will have to move your driveway to the south, which I'll show you in 1 second. In order to then
could you explain? I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you explain the site easement? Like
Sure.
They just want to make sure that they keep it clear, there are no trees or bushes, or what is that specifically?
Yes, sorry. So the sightline easement basically is to guarantee that you have a clear line of sight, so it's safe for the vehicles exiting the site. So I'm gonna draw a line on here that's going to demonstrate what we had to this is very approximate, so please take this as approximate. But our sight line needed to be something like this, let's say, okay?
Okay.
So they're basically meaning that everything between the red line and the property line, which is below here, would need to be a clear field of vision, right? So there is a large tree here that's in the state right of way that's going to have to come down. As you can see, though, this line down here is the property line. So everything, basically the triangle or small rectangle formed between the neighboring property and this red line, we would need the neighbor to basically agree to keep that clear, meaning he couldn't come to this commission for signs, he couldn't do anything in the future, right? So there are a couple parking spaces here, and he felt that this would encumber his property in the future, so he did not want to grant that easement.
All right, thank you for that. That clarifies a lot for me. Thank
You're
you.
very welcome. I apologize for assuming that was obvious. I apologize. So I'm going to move on to the next plan. So basically, before I do that, actually, the DOT asked us to, basically move it where this line, ends up not being through the neighbor's property. So the only way to do that is to basically have shifted this driveway over. And the result of that is the graphic I'm about to show you. So that's this right here. So I'm going to zoom into the intersection. So you could see here that by shifting the driveway over to the south, basically the vehicles exiting the site will then have a line of sight that does not and once, like I said, this is approximate, so it's something more like this, where it no longer goes through the neighbor's property. So your line of sight is now within the state right of way, which they could control. So this is the tree that would have to come down here. So this basically resulted in not needing an easement from the neighbor. And you can see that Jordan Avenue is here, and our previous entrance was here. I relocated it approximately, the center line approximately 84 feet to the south in order to obtain that sightline easement. So you could, I could put them side by side if you'd like.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Oh, you kind of get it here. Okay.
So, I guess, the black and white is the, currently approved. And the color graphic is the, proposed modification.
So the State Department had no concerns that it was not going to line up any longer with Jordan Lane, and the jog now that we have here isn't going to be a problem for people turning left or whatever because they're offset.
That's correct. And the reason for that is because of the low volumes on Jordan Avenue. So typically a teen situation is ideal. And really that does depend on the volume that's coming through that. Jordan Lane is mostly, a residential neighborhood there, and then there's the marina. But it's relatively low volume. So the safety of the sight line basically outweighed the lineup of the current or the previous proposal. I would also like to point out that one of their other comments was to add sidewalks along our frontage. So what you see here in this tan is a sidewalk that's going to run along our entire frontage.
Could you put that in full screen again?
Certainly.
The new one.
Oops.
So the sidewalk's going to run from property line to property line. Well, that's good.
That is correct.
So where your proposed driveway is definitely sufficient. It shouldn't go further halfway down, so it lines up just to the right of the clubhouse or something. That would be
Oh,
worse.
the reason I lined it up the way I did is I went to the south, the minimum that I could. And the reason I did that was because River Road's grade decreases as you go south,
right?
And our grade increases as you go south.
Uh-huh.
So I had to find that middle point that worked for grade and also worked for sightline. And that I was glad we were able to find that. I initially was skeptical I'd be able to do that. We were able to find that balance.
Okay.
That's also a no passing zone, correct? I mean,
Yeah, it looks like a
It's one-
solid line.
It's one lane. It's
Yeah.
fairly wide there because the shoulder itself is wide. But it is one lane in each direction.
I'm just thinking it kind of gives the Jordan Avenue folks a little bit more, it eases up them trying to get out if somebody coming north stops to turn left into that project, then the folks at Jordan Avenue can take a right.
Mhm.
Kind of
That's a good
holds
point.
traffic up for them, right?
That's a good point.
I'm
it's-
trying to find the detriment to it as well, but right now, all I can see is kind of a positive for the folks coming out of Jordan Avenue, making it a little easier to get out
Just
onto
a-
a very busy road.
And if the
Yes.
volumes from Jordan Ave were heavier than, or if it was, signalized or something like that, it does not meet any of that. So that's why it was never signalized anyway. And then if it was signalized, the sight line wouldn't be an issue anyway, but the signals were not warranted. So because of the low volumes, everyone was accepting of this.
Okay, and then also the state did not want, say, the two separate lanes to be widened so that there's a middle turning little island in there.
No,
Like
the volumes did not warrant that. So they were only focused on the driveway
Okay.
and the sight line.
Okay, any further comments from the commissioners?
No, I think this makes a lot more sense, especially if you're on Jordan Ave trying to take a left, and if you were in this plaza trying to take a left, I think it's better than before when you really were head on with others. So I think this is a positive change.
I hope it works out. Mr. Vitaliano, do you have any further comments for us?
No, Madam Chair, I don't.
Okay, and Attorney Thomas, how about yourself?
None for me. Explain fully.
Okay, so how does the commission want to proceed with this application?
I think we can, I'll, motion to approve it.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve from Commissioner Amato. Is there a second?
Commissioner Parkins will second.
Okay. And staff did prepare a resolution or a report on that. So Mr. Rossetti, do you want to read that for us, please?
I'm happy to, or if you guys just want to take a verbal vote, either way.
Okay, did everyone have a chance to look at the resolution that was emailed to everyone this afternoon?
It just
I'm sorry, I did not.
It regurgitates almost verbatim everything that was just said.
Right, it does explain the need and why it went down to 84 feet southwest. And it does mention because of the fact that the new location that's proposed is no longer directly across from Jordan Avenue, for further moving the driveway entrance even further south. Would increase the driveway gradient and may lead to poor sightline conditions in another capacity. So that's about it. It's pretty cut and dry. So just on a roll call vote then, Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Cristiano,
Aye.
Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
I'm
and chair votes aye. Motion has passed by a vote of 5-0. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next on the agenda is application 2329, Dominic Thomas for 6 Todd Road LLC. At 6 Todd Road, Assessors Map 77, Lot 25, for a major modification to a PDD, amendment to statement of uses and standards, and initial development site plans and final site development plans, reducing a 10,170 square foot retail building to a 3,690 square foot restaurant with drive-through. At our April 10th meeting, the commission came to a consensus for staff to prepare a favorable resolution. Before reviewing the resolution, we do have 2 items to clear up. The commission, Mr. Panico specifically, had requested a site plan showing the sidewalk to Bridgeport Avenue, and some signage has to be reviewed. So Attorney Thomas, you're representing the applicant. What do you know about these 2 requests?
Well, with respect to the sidewalk, I think the discussion was that we would certainly include that in the final plans that were going to be signed off. If there were any other conditions, we would incorporate those. As far as the signage, which we treated separately and not part of this, we'll be glad to, I believe, we'll be glad to discuss the signage now, because I think it's really the way you voted on it. It was a separate application. You approved it subject to certain conditions, which we can address. If you want us to address it now before you get into the issue of the approval, we'd be glad to.
Well, I'm a little disappointed that we don't have the sidewalk drawing to show
Well,
specifically.
I again, and maybe it's my fault, I was under the impression that we had agreed to the sidewalk as a condition all the way down. There was a question that Mr. Panico asked about, could we show it on the state road, which, we don't have any ability to show that on the state property. We've agreed to it as a condition and that we will pursue it. And I indicated that once, if there was a favorable vote and with any other conditions that were required, as is always in the resolution, the final site development plans have to be then submitted with all the changes and conditions that the commission requests, one of which is going to be requiring a sidewalk, which we agree to. It does fit.
You were saying you could not show the sidewalks overlaying on the state property?
No, Mr. Panico asked if we could show the sidewalk all the way down. I said we would certainly do that as part of the plans, showing it as a separate sheet. We can't show things that are not on our property. You know what I mean? You can't approve things that are not on our property.
No, no,
that I
we
would
weren't
have to-
asking.
Yeah,
to
but
prove
we would
something.
show it as,
Wanna
once we
see a
file the final
visual.
site. Yeah, once we file the final, we can do the sidewalk.
Okay.
Todd Ritchie said we could do it. There's not an issue. We didn't know, plans are expensive to do sometimes. So, we said we would, once we get, assuming if we got an approval, we would come in then with the final plans, with all the conditions, and as a separate sheet, submit to you, show you what it would look like with the crosswalk over Todd Road and the sidewalk along the right of way of the state. And how that would fit. So we would show you all of that at that point. But
But you're
certainly,
asking us to approve final site development plans tonight.
Mhm.
And we
But you-
don't have any indication on that final plan that there's going to be a proposed sidewalk.
you propose it with conditions. You've done this hundreds of times before, and then the plans, the final plans that are submitted have to comply with those conditions. You've done this numerous times. I'm not doing anything unusual. Because you approve it, I don't get to say, that we're not going to do it. You're
I don't
approving
think
it
your
with that
final site
condition.
plans even show the sidewalk in front of your property on Todd Road. I mean, on Platt Road.
I guess I misinterpreted. But in the past, it's never been. We can comply with the set of plans with all your conditions. I don't know if there are going to be any other conditions with respect to this. Certainly, and I will take the blame for it. I'm just treating it like I've treated it in the past. You impose
There
a
was
condition.
specific request from Mr. Panico to have a visual showing the sidewalks, and we don't have that.
I'm more concerned it's not shown on their own property.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to have you come back and say, this is how you approved it, but unfortunately they can't fit it in because such and
No,
such.
Todd said to you that night, it can be fit in. He testified, the engineer said it's okay, it can be fit in.
Want it
But
in
we
on
don't know
a
whether there's gonna be
document,
any other.
on a site plan.
I'm not comfortable approving final site plans when we asked for the sidewalks to be shown on it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The proposed, I can see, if the state, if you want to mark it as potential or whatever, we have it on record that you've agreed to it, but I know, I remember Mr. Panico asking to see the sidewalks on the site plan.
Yep.
And if you were not asking for final site plan development plans, then I would say, okay, fine. You're going to come back. We're going to have another chomp at the apple to see the final plans. But these aren't the final plans that we're approving.
All I can tell you is in the past you've approved, and if you want to put a condition on it, you've done it before where you've discussed final site development plans and say, we would like to see that, we approve it with that condition, and then the applicant files afterwards, rather than the applicant spending money on something, and then at the final meeting, there being a condition of approval that requires some more changes to the plans. We have agreed, when you impose a condition, that condition is a mandatory requirement. It's not an optional thing. So we have got to submit then a revised plan.
Yeah, but we want to
True.
see it. So Attorney Thomas, we have a meeting a week from today, May 15th. We also have one on May 22nd.
So we can have it. I'm sure we can have, do you want the entire set or just the site plan showing it that it can fit?
Just the site
Just the
plan,
site plan.
clearly showing where the sidewalks are going to be. Along Platt Road, Todd Road, down to Bridgeport Avenue. Okay?
Okay, then,
All right.
then is it possible, if we're going to go back and show the plans, is it possible we could get some input from your staff? What any other conditions are that would be required in the plans for
Mhm.
us to make changes to?
Absolutely. Sure.
From your staff, I don't know if there is, because I would not want to have them have to do a set of site plans or do a site plan sheet, and then have to then redo it again if there are any other conditions that you're going to impose.
I totally agree with you. We don't want to prolong this anymore.
Well, I think at our last meeting, we discussed a few minor changes regarding the signage plan, so, I mean,
Well, that's a different application, yeah.
right.
Understood. Understand. We do have, hopefully we can discuss that tonight because we do have some questions about that.
Yeah, that's the part B that we're gonna go to.
Okay.
All right, so can we move to part B then?
We're gonna
Okay,
table this or
Yeah, this would be tabling the
approval of the final site plan?
approval of final site plans, exactly. So is there a motion to table the approval of the final site plans?
Commissioner Parkins will make that motion.
Okay, and is there a second?
Commissioner Ticky will second.
Very good.
Are we on a clock? Are we on a clock with this? We got to keep that in mind.
It's not an automatic approval matter.
No.
Yeah.
All right, so on a motion to table made by Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Ticky, do a roll call. Commissioner Cristiano,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion to table is passed by a vote of 5-0. Okay, so moving on to part B, which is the signage. How many parts do you have to signage? Visuals that were submitted, but not 24 hours in advance, are these pictures that show a pole sign with the M superimposed on the property at the top of the hill. Do you have anything that you want to screen share with us, Attorney Thomas?
Yeah, if I don't know whether Alexandria has what I submitted, but I can
I do
I
have
submitted.
available.
Excuse me?
I do have available if you need me to share for you.
Yeah, let me I can if you just hold on one second, I should be able to
Is somebody putting something up?
yeah, I am. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to, they're taking a little while to load.
Would you like me to share for you?
I know, I think I got them up now.
Okay.
Okay. This is, the request was made for an elevation from the intersection of Nels Rock and Bridgeport Avenue. So this is a rendering, I'm sorry. This is a rendering from the Nels Rock and Bridgeport Avenue showing the road sign as it was called and the relationship to the building and how it is. So I can then also, let me just get this out of the way, so I can blow it up for you, give you a better perspective as was explained to you. And Eric Wagner is on the or is able to comment for McDonald's. I don't know if he's been admitted yet, but he should be. But this is the elevation that was requested and shown. And again, it's you can see how it sits on the site and how the sign, the relationship of the road sign is to the building. A lot of the other questions were answered. In addition to that, let me see here. I don't know, can you see this other shot? That I
We
just
see the
put
first
up?
one. Yeah, this is the
Zoom-
one.
Pardon me?
zoomed
Okay.
out.
Excuse me?
You zoomed out from the original one. That's
Yeah.
what we're looking at right
Right.
now, right?
Yeah, what you're looking at right now is, there was a question about Buddington Road. So in the question when I drove up to Buddington Road, and I think I may even have more, but, and I'll show you that, when I drove up to, Buddington Road, what I discovered, and I should have known this because I did the zoning for the marketplace, there was a requirement that, a substantial, evergreen, buffer be planted along Buddington Road. And
Attorney
I
Thomas, you're
hadn't been
not
up there.
showing those pictures. You've got your first picture up still. You're
Okay,
not
so
showing
let me,
Buddington, and you're not showing the picture that
let me
goes
try, let me
towards the
try,
Virgos.
yeah,
That's what you're referring to.
okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just, I went up to the proximate corner, I think this may have been received from McDonald's. This is from the area looking back towards, where the site was, but these row of trees, I just wanted to point out to you, these row of trees go all the way down along the edge. So I also have a photo from the site looking back on Buddington, and you can see, did my photo change now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you can see the row of evergreens and the fact that on Buddington, the only properties that would have any view of the site, is the second floor on this, property here. The rest of it is basically blocked out by the, large row of evergreens, which are pretty solid if you've driven down Buddington Road. And then when you get down to the end, even the house on the end, there was a picture, I think, shown the last time saying that it really doesn't have a view. The house also faces, I think that house, the house that's on the corner of Nels Rock and Buddington, faces the condos. But as you can see, I know that was the question that was asked. There's really no viewing other than from the second floor of this two-story, house.
Oh, so keeping this picture up, when you look at that telephone pole that's kind of leaning to the left. Right now, this picture appears to be taken from the property up at the height of that the sign will be starting at. The proposed sign is how tall?
Okay, the
I'm
proposed
trying to
sign
get
is,
the relative of the
Right.
how high it will be up to that telephone pole.
okay, first of all, to tell you where this picture is being taken from, this picture is taken from approximately the location of the, Platte Road entrance. Okay,
Right.
so that I went
Yep.
up a little higher than would be. So then, as far as the, hold on.
That leaning telephone poles.
Okay,
is
so
that
there's the
shot.
leaning, it's hard to tell you, there's the leaning telephone pole
Okay.
in the rendering, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, that you wanted, I mean, the telephone pole sticks way up over where they,
So how
Right.
high is the proposed sign?
15 feet.
15 feet. Okay.
It does not exceed the height of the building. I think the building height is 18, or 16 or something like that, but the sign is not higher than, Eric? Okay.
18 feet 6 inches on the building, I believe.
The building is 18 feet, 6 inches?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. I'm going to throw
Mine's
something out
15.
at the, for discussion, Attorney Thomas. I don't particularly care for this pole sign at all. I think a better approach would be to have a monument sign, just like they have down at Crown Point Plaza. Something along that line. This is like
Well-
same old, same old. There has got to be other versions that the applicant has had to install in other places around wherever their franchises are. I just don't think that
I
this is
understand it.
suitable for a nice building like this at all.
Yeah, we went through the sign committee on this, and there was discussion, I think because of the location off of Bridgeport Avenue, the simplicity of it. And as you can see, it's not that very tall. It's not like we're talking about a large center that has multiple tenants. So the whole point was, I mean, that's why we went through the sign committee with it and made the presentation last with this road sign, and the only question at that point was, you know, the rest of the signs were acceptable. We do want to, they're removing the two directional signs, exit signs, but we do want to have a discussion, a brief discussion about the issue of exiting garbage cans, but
And
we will talk to that.
Let's focus on this. I don't.
And I'd
Okay.
like to just say, I'd like to say a little bit here, if
Go
that's
ahead.
okay. Yeah, so I passed a McDonald's sign somewhere off of 95 today, I think in West Haven area. It had to be 40 feet in the air. So I appreciate that this is not 40 feet in the air. We asked for it to be, you know, reasonable. It's a very iconic image for them. And I think the point is, you know, anybody who can see it from Bridgeport Avenue would instantly know that there's a McDonald's there. And that's, I think, the point. So it doesn't exceed the height of the building. I don't think it's going to be an eyesore from any particular direction. So I'm fine with it.
I just think there could be a better representation. Right across the street, we have the marketplace. They have a beautiful low-level monument sign. I just think this area needs to be upgraded a little bit.
With all due respect, Commissioner Harger, if you look behind it and in front of it, you know, you got a car storage lot in front of it. You've got whatever that building is up top with all kinds of commercial operations going on up there. I you know, as much as I agree with you, like if this was at the marketplace, I would suggest that they do a brick, you know, monument base to match the brick and then put the sign on top of that. But I'm also fine with the sign as is, as long as how it's being depicted in terms of height is accurate.
I understand. You know, that car
Commissioner
lot may not always be there, so keep that in mind. Commissioner Cristiano, go ahead.
I don't have a particular problem with it. I think what's different here, I agree with the monument sign. If this lot was up against Bridgeport Ave, but seeing that it's, you know, it's, I don't know, that has to be what, 30, 40 feet off of Bridgeport Ave. I think it changes it. Even if you know, you look at the Splash Car Wash next door, I believe they have a monument sign, but they're essentially right on Bridgeport Ave. I think their lot is different. So set that far back, I don't particularly have a problem with it. I think the height is reasonable in comparison to the building height.
I just think this is a time that we can get something that's upgradable, and I don't see this as this plain and same as everywhere else. That's all. Okay, any further discussion on this? Well, you want to go on to the directional signs and some other things? Attorney Thomas?
Yeah, the one thing we want to mention, there's no doubt that they've accepted your condition to remove the exit signs that said thank you, exit signs. And Eric, you can jump in and comment. The concern was, I think there was a request, if I understood it correctly, to sort of replace those signs with garbage cans or people driving out. Well, in both instances, the driver, I mean, the passenger would be on that side, but the driver wouldn't be. And Eric, do you want to comment about, even though you remove the signs, about possibly a better option for garbage? Or
Yeah, we removed the signs from our sign package as requested. The trash cans, I think the comment was to put that extension on the end of the trash cans. And we can locate those in a different location. I just don't think they should be at an exit. We don't want to, I know we have concerns about people entering and exiting the site. We don't want somebody getting out of our car on the passenger side blocking traffic. So if we need to have it at the end of the drive-through or different spots throughout the site, we can put trash wherever you'd like. We just don't want to put it at entrances to cause any congestion.
Makes sense.
Okay, I want to share something that I just found on TripAdvisor. There is a McDonald's sign in Fayetteville that I think would be a heck of a lot better than this thing on a pole. So I'm going to send that to Mr. Rossetti. And Mr. Rossetti, you could screen share it, please. Are you there?
I'm listening.
Okay, it's coming your way. And there's a lot of others when you Google McDonald's monument signs. God, it's a lot better. There's some that are on brick with a cement base and then brick and then the M, a red square with M and orange on it. It's I think a lot more fitting along this stretch of Bridgeport Avenue than other things.
Yeah, this is Eric Wagner again, if it's okay to speak. As mentioned, a few people that were in support of this sign, it was because we were set so far off the road. We were trying to maximize that height of the sign, still stay within the sign guidelines of no higher than 15 feet. And we were just trying to create the more visibility for guests driving up and down the road to see us. That's all. The monument sign would be a lot lower and a little bit tougher to see.
I think guaranteed once people know McDonald's is in Shelton, you're going to get plenty of traffic. People are not going to avoid you because you don't have a pole sign. Mr. Rossetti, do you have that picture?
Yeah, I just can't get text messages on my computer, so give me a second. I'm pulling it up.
Sure. Oh. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. And there's plenty of others. So you
Well,
have had to do it in other places.
That's probably shorter than me.
I don't like that at all.
Be adjusted. There's other ones. I'm just saying, here's one that's not on a pole. Clearly shows it's McDonald's. There's another one that doesn't even have the wording McDonald's on it, but it just has the golden arches.
Oh, you're making me hungry.
I know, I'm too.
I thought I'd have dinner by now.
Yeah.
You and everybody else. So can I ask that we just, this particular one, we sort of table for now? And I would ask the commission's indulgence to be open-minded to consider some other.
I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. We've already spent a long time with this. You seem to be the only one, Jenny, who has this particular opinion about this. Unless somebody else wants to chime in or other people agree, I think we've spent, I don't know how many hours in meetings on McDonald's signs.
I don't think there's that many, Elaine. You think so?
Oh, a lot. So, and more than from my point of view, I am fine with that sign that we discussed, and we just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be 40 feet in the air and that it wasn't going to obstruct the view of any neighbors. That's what we asked for. So I'm not in favor of tabling this and going over it again, frankly.
Well, I think we spent a lot of time making sure that Five Below one was appropriate, and I just don't think that pole sign is appropriate.
Well,
we've had, can
we take a vote on it and see who wants to continue?
I just want to point out that up the street where Dunkin' Donuts was, when we had our previous administrator had issues with the Dunkin' Donuts one on the pole. And I just don't
Well,
like.
that was humongous. That was up in the sky tall
Yeah.
for Dunkin' Donuts.
Right, it's just the look.
I
don't-
appreciate their willingness to bring this sign down to it. And I even noticed a couple of other McDonald's that I've gone by recently that have had the shorter pole, and I'm like, I hope this is what they're proposing.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that these renderings are accurate. So if we do pass a motion tonight to approve it, I just want to state that to prove as shown, regardless of the height.
Mhm.
The plan, the sign plan that was submitted to you, reviewed by the commission, has a 15-foot
Right.
road sign.
Right, but
so
I can't tell whether that rendering is actually showing a 15-foot pole is my point. I want it to look like the rendering. I want it to be as high
Okay.
as it's shown on the rendering.
Yeah, is it in proportion? Like,
Right.
Yes, that's what the, while she couldn't be here, Colleen Hazelton, who was the, whatever, the artist.
Okay,
That's the rendering, and I went back and read the, or listened to the minutes, and you wanted it from the corner of Nels Rock.
Yes,
And
no, the
Bridgeport Avenue,
locations are
rather
fine.
than-
I just want to make sure that when it goes up, they don't say, well, the rendering was off a little bit, and now it's 2 feet taller
Yeah.
than what the rendering's
Mhm.
showing. That's all
No.
I'm making a point about.
okay, Attorney
Yeah.
Thomas, so we have the pole sign, we're removing exit signs. What else do we have to discuss about signage?
That's it. I think we can discuss if the commission's okay, where to locate the garbage cans. They have no problem doing it. Eric Wagner explained to you the situation with them and at the exits. But we have no problem increasing the number of garbage cans.
Okay,
But I just want to point something out, and I apologize for this because I wasn't, when you said you weren't going to act on it, even if you do understand that even if I do have Todd Ritchie do a plan, you can't look at it.
yeah,
You
because.
closed the public hearing you closed the public hearing.
Yeah,
So
I
you
understand.
couldn't look at it anyway. I mean, other than he could do it, I could show it to Alex.
Okay.
You're prohibited from looking at it. I just wanted to point that out.
That's
that,
fine.
it's a condition, but you know what I mean?
And it was coming from.
And
Mr.
that's what I
Panico, who was
believe
staff.
that's what Tony Panico was
Oh.
suggesting.
Exactly. That's why
Okay,
it came from him.
but
Okay.
yeah, but-
And he wanted to see the sidewalks.
Exactly. So that's why I
Yeah.
brought it up in his absence, knowing that he had asked for that. Okay, so is there anything else, Attorney Thomas, or can we move forward with a motion? here?
Not with respect to the signs. I think we've handled everything with respect to that, and we've represented to you on the record that we will address the garbage can issue as to how, where you want it, more than whatever located on the site.
Okay. Is there a motion from a commissioner on this particular signs? Removing the exit signs and approving the pole sign?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, there's a motion to approve from Commissioner Amato. Is there a second?
Commissioner Parkins will second.
Okay, so on the motion to approve the removal of the exit signs and approving the pole sign that is 15 feet in height, Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Cristiano,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
No.
you're an A?
Yes, because I disagree with the whole project and the signage.
Okay. And the chair votes nay as well, for reasons I think everybody understands. It's on a 3-2 vote, the motion has passed. It only has to pass. We do not need 4 votes. It passes on a majority of those present and voting.
It's just a signage plan. It's not
Yeah.
not approval of
The,
PDD.
Yeah.
No, but that's
So-
what the Corporation Council had mentioned. Attorney Thomas, you want to say something?
No, I would just say we would request that the resolution be on the next agenda, and I will have the sidewalk site plan to your staff before then, so they can report to you that it works.
Okay. Very good.
Just a note, I will not be at the next planning and zoning meeting.
Okay,
I'll be in DC. That's next week, if it's next week.
yeah, it is scheduled for the 15th. Okay, no, all right, so thank you, Attorney Thomas. And anyone else who may be participating from McDonald's. We're moving on to the next agenda item, public hearing for application 2405. And I just want to remind everybody, especially the applicant and anyone from the public who may be listening in, of the protocol that we have for public hearings. Mr. Rossetti will indicate if any written comments were received from members of the public no later than 24 hours before the start of this evening's meeting. If so, they will be read into the record. The presentation will be made by the applicant and associates. Commission can ask questions during the presentation or at the conclusion. The answers to those questions that can be made at that time or at the conclusion of the presentation. At the point where the chair asks for public comment, those members of the public participating via Zoom will be asked to use Zoom's raise your hand feature and to be identified, and those members of the public participating via phone will be recognized after dialing *9. The public will be recognized to comment, beginning with elected officials of the city, followed by residents. When you are recognized, please state and spell your name and state your address to assist the recording secretary and stenographer when doing the minutes and transcripts of the public hearing. Each speaker has 5 minutes to present comments, which should address specific criteria of the zoning regulations, the merits of the application, and be new information, not a repeat of comments previously presented. Comments and questions should be directed to the chair, not to the applicant and or his associates. Members of the public are expected to practice appropriate etiquette by being quiet, observant, and respectful during their comments. Disruptive attendees may be removed from verbally participating. The applicant's attorney and our associates will be given the opportunity to address any comments or questions from the public after the last person from the public has been given the opportunity to speak. If the commission feels further information is needed from the applicant, the chair will ask for a motion to continue the public hearing. If a public hearing does remain open, the commission is not allowed to make any public comment, discuss any part of the applicant's and or his associate's presentation, or receive any additional information from anyone. If the commission feels the applicant and his associates have answered all questions, have addressed all concerns from the commission and or public, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing, and then staff will schedule a discussion about the application at an upcoming commission meeting. And during which time the commission will be asked by myself on how it wants to proceed. So this is application 2405, Belita Lawn and Masonry at 40 Oliver Terrace, Assessors Map 63, Lot 12, for a special exception application to allow a building and contractor business in an IA2 zone under Schedule A, permitted use line 45. Commissioner Amato, did you find the notice of the public hearing I sent you?
Yeah,
Okay.
you just read it, basically. Yeah.
Good. Okay, could you read the notice, please?
Sure. Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Shelton, Connecticut hereby gives notice of a public hearing to be held on Wednesday, May 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. via Zoom to consider the following. Initiation of application 24-05, Belita Lawn and Masonry at 40 Oliver Terrace, Assessors Map 63, Lot 12, for a special exception application to allow a building and contractor business in an IA2 zone under Schedule A, permitted use line 45.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this application was accepted for review on March 18th, posted on the city's website of the special exception application, an updated statement of uses and standards, and a revised site plan layout. Is the applicant present?
As a representative.
Very
For the
good. So
record,
identify yourself for the record.
Alan Shepard, professional engineer and partner in the firm of Nowakowski, Beam, John Kane, 415 Howe Avenue, Shelton, Connecticut.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shepard. What do you have to tell us?
What's that?
I said, thank you. What information do you want to share with us?
Okay, good. Again, it's Oliver Terrace, 40 Oliver Terrace, and the applicant would like to operate a recycling operation where he takes in wood chips, lawn clippings, brush, makes mulch out of it. Also for um, some concrete and asphalt for small landscapers. So this is an operation that it it's set up for small landscapers in the area that they have nowhere to put the materials. So they would take the materials here. Actually, he would process them and resell them back as mulch and processed material.
Is there
So
special equipment that is required for this?
other than what's stated, they got a backhoe and a loader, couple pickup trucks.
And then
So
this is
then
inside
they'll
or
bring
outside?
in a crusher outside.
This
So
is
they will bring in
outside.
a small crusher, which we have. What's that?
No, I was just concerned if you're doing something, you don't have to worry about things being exposed to the elements at all.
No, because they'll make mulch. So their shredder will make mulch. They do it in the springtime. The mulch sits there and they sell it back to the landscapers.
Okay,
The
and
landscape,
how are they
Go-
going to where are they going to put the mulch? Is it going to be in like troughs or?
different piles, yeah. So they'll take the grass clippings in one pile, the um, wood chips and stuff like that in another pile. And then they'll mix them in the hopper and they'll shred it and make mulch.
Mhm.
Yeah, there we go. So when they're making the mulch, they got to turn it and stuff. And then actually it'll be mulched. You can't really use wood chips for hillsides. It's better to use mulch. So they shred it up with the grass clippings, wood chips. They'll also take in sod when contractors do yard work or whatever, they cut up the grass. It's not topsoil, it's just sod, and
Right.
then they'll take it, store it, recycle it, and sell it back as topsoil. So this is a setup for small residential type landscapers who have nowhere to take their materials. So it's not a big operation. Actually, my client does not do landscaping anymore. He used to be a landscaping business, but realized, he's getting a little bit older, but realized that there's a value in taking materials from residential landscapers, actually processing material, recycling it, and selling it back to the same landscapers. This is not open to the general public. It's not a retail area. It's the clients that he has are actually clients that bring the materials to him. And then what he'll have is a few ancillary to the business, some gravel, sand, some pavers, maybe some concrete blocks for the guys to pick up. But again, it's not like a retail store or anything. That's just to help in the type of business that he does. So
The wholesale only?
Yes. Yes, for wholesale only. Only when the guys, if they have big quantities, a big patio they got to do, they'll go out to the big supply houses. But if they need a few blocks or a few pavers, he can supply that. So it's not like he makes a lot of money on that. That's just a side thing just to make it more amenable to the people that he does business with. Every once in a while, they're short on sand. If they're working on a project, then they'll get a couple loads of sand, but it's not anything big. So basically, this is a recycling type of operation that goes back in. The only thing that he goes out with is if we have a storm or something like that and they get a lot of brush, he'll take that brush pile, reduce it down, we call it volume reduction, reduce it down, and then he'll ship it out to a bigger operation that does brush. But he'll take it from the local guys Um, set it there for a little bit. When it gets enough, he crushes it down and ships it out. But everything else gets recycled. The residential asphalt and the residential concrete is when the landscapers work around the pool or redo a driveway. These are small amounts, and we need it in the business, because I can tell you, we deal with piles getting dumped off at dead end streets and cul-de-sacs, and even wood chips blown into wetlands, because the people have nowhere to put it, right? So this addresses somewhere local where the guys can go to. They can't take it to the local dumps because maybe they're not residents of the town, and dump it off. And then the great thing about that is, once a year, he'll, like, for 2 weeks of the year, he'll take a crusher, and he'll take those driveway remnants, the concrete from pools and stuff like that, crush it up and make some process and resell it back to the guys as driveway process. So this is repurposing materials at its best. Obviously, the small scale really counts, and that's why he has a detailed plan here. His operations, what kind of equipment he uses, how long he uses the equipment. We're talking in his busy time, 2 or 3 employees. Most of the time, he'll have one guy here to check people in. And then when they get enough pile, then they'll get a couple guys in and process it.
Pretty
How
small,
long-
So
pretty small
I
lot
think it's a dozen.
For a lot of activity going on. Could someone put that photo back, that site plan back up, please, and zoom out a little bit so we can get kind of the lay of where that is in relation to everything else that's going on up there? Thank you.
It's in front and to the right of the car station location.
Right, so that's the area, that flat area that they used to store the transformers in, and relatively flat area. So these are small operations. This is not a big time operation. So the small area, it's about an acre of land, which is a fairly good sized property, but it's really not a big operation.
What
So-
would be the turnaround from the time that something gets dumped in its raw state until it gets processed?
What was that question?
What's the turnaround time from the time that something gets
Oh.
dumped there? What do they expect? How long would it take for them to process it?
Well, the asphalt and the concrete takes them a year to get a pile they can crush it. So
Really?
they don't get a lot of that.
Oh,
Yeah, no, they don't get a lot of it. That's not the main business of landscapers. So if you picture your landscapers that you work with, right, or around the house or whatever, you don't move a driveway every day.
mhm.
So the asphalt and the concrete, you don't redo pools or sidewalks or stuff like that every day. But it does come up. There's nowhere really for them to take them with those small amounts, but they can't bury it, you can't get rid of it like that.
What are the
So-
hours of
so
operation?
The hours of operation 7 to like 4. In the wintertime, they don't do anything, and when it's dark.
Seasonal.
In the wintertime, it slows right down. Their busy time is in spring cleanup. That's when they do most of their work. So once a year, they'll grind the mulch, and they move the mulch out pretty fast. So as it comes in, that's the spring. That turnaround is pretty fast. But they'll do a pile and then move it out by late spring, all the mulch is gone.
So this
and then
this
cycle.
business is up and running somewhere else? It sounds like,
Yeah, he had it in Stanford, and the Stanford operation, I think they upped his lease or something like that, and he moved out of there, and that was a bigger operation. This is a little bit smaller. But he's probably my age or close to my age, and he wants to do something. And he's not doing landscaping anymore. He just wants to do the recycling. It's low effort for him. But since he knows the business, he
I was
knows
gonna
there's a
say
need for it.
this. It sounds like you'd have to have some experience with this to make it work.
Okay,
My only
And that's
concern with it
exactly
is the noise that these crushers that are up there make, which is why I asked about the hours of operation. I mean, although you're not directly impacting close residential, sound does travel. Those crushers
Right.
make a lot of noise, and we have the shelter that's right down there as well, right next to Professional Tires. So I would certainly want to limit the operation in the summer and spring to 5 or 6 o'clock.
Right.
I'm gonna ask staff to put up the application. I just printed it out myself. And the hours are stated 7 to 6, Monday through Friday, 8 to 3 on Saturdays. Operation hours would be reduced during winter months. Material would be dropped off, everybody created here, by local landscapers using 3 to 6 yard trucks and occasionally a 20-yard truck. Only when there's an employee on site. There's a temporary crusher and grinder. What Commissioner Parkins said was something I was going to bring up myself about the noise. They talk about a couple paragraphs down what the equipment would be. Only 2 to 3 employees, busy season, March, April, May. The landscaping truck traffic may be 20 trucks a day and about 40 trucks a day during the summer months.
Yes, but those are 2 or 3 yard trucks. These are small landscapers.
Okay. And then it's the piling that is shown that concerns me. Everything is exposed to the elements is not so much a concern, but there was a picture I saw online from Hayes Outdoor Living, which is on Derby Avenue off of Route 8. And just down the street on Todd Road where Professional Tire is, a couple years ago, there was staging of material, but it was contained in like a 3-sided cinder block kind of corral. And that's what it looks like Hayes has. So I'm just a little concerned about piles here and piles there. I don't know if anybody else is, but
Well, I'm trying to picture this. I'm just not, doesn't seem like a familiar kind of a thing.
right. Well, if staff goes and looks at just Google's Hayes Outdoor Living, I can't send it. It's not pulling it up. It's sending me to Yelp. So,
Up on Route 8, you're talking
Yeah.
about Seymour.
Yep. Yeah, there's 3 pictures on there. When you Google it, one shows outdoor fireplaces, one shows some.
Oh, that's a much bigger operation. And
No, I'm talking about the containers that
Oh,
they
I
have
see.
along the back row. That I can't enlarge it. That is, to me, it looks like where they have the loose stuff. That's what I was trying to enlarge, but I can't.
Yeah,
But-
that's I can pull it up for you. That's what the plan is for John Totus on
Bridgeport Avenue.
Bridgeport Avenue. Thank you.
Yeah, and there was one on Todd Road, Professional Tire. We had issues with that. I think when Commissioner Parkins was chair. So that's what my concerns would be at having piles all over the place.
Well, the piles that they have are just wood chips, grass clippings. The mulch pile, you kind of want it out to the elements because you want it to bake, if you will, and they turn it around. So that's something they normally have on the outside. Wood chips, the same thing. You know, we pile them up. This isn't going to be big piles. They just don't have the space to do big piles of wood chips, and they want to turn around to process it. So they're not just leaving the wood piles there forever. They want to process it to sell it into mulch and move it back out. And he has the quantity stated on there. So I think for the low volumes that he has stated, this is not a big operation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have bigger operations around, but this ain't it.
Okay, Mr. Shepherd, what can you tell us about any concerns for migration of the material?
What we're gonna do is we're gonna berm up the material. So we're gonna put a berm around the material, which you see that little thing. And generally, if you use the mulch as a berm, that's a pretty good barrier. Property's pretty flat. The migration, now obviously asphalt doesn't migrate. Wood chips could float, but you know, if you pile them up, they don't. And we got grass clippings. The only thing that if you had concrete dust that could move around a little bit, but basically from what he told me, this stuff is like when someone redoes their pool, they'll have some concrete, they have nowhere else to put it, or a sidewalk type of thing. So the volumes of concrete, we're not doing Route 8 highway bridge work concrete. This is from a sidewalk or something like that. So it's very minimal, and they're only gonna crush two weeks out of the year. They'll mulch most of the spring. They'll take that stuff and mulch it, which, you know, we have the mulchers around, the grinders around. They don't make too much noise. The crushers one makes a little bit more, but this is a small crusher, and he actually states the size of the crusher. It's
So
a
there-
small hopper.
Am I correct in what you said that you would be accumulating, the property business would be accumulating material for like a year, and then only 2 weeks out of the year is when they're actually processing it? Did I hear you say that correctly?
The mulch they'll do for 3 months. So the
Okay.
springtime, they'll be getting clean up stuff, and they'll process in the springtime. The asphalt and the concrete, it takes them about a year to get a pile of stuff up so he can actually take 1 week with a crusher.
Okay.
And the crusher, the hopper that he's got in here is a, you know, small hopper. These aren't big crushers. They're not like what we do for recycling of process. And so, yeah, it takes them a while to get a pile up of asphalt and concrete. That's not a main line of his business. The main line of his business is lawn, grass clippings, and wood chips, and along with that, some brush.
What are they turning the grass clippings into? Just garbage to be disposed
Oh,
of?
he's gonna put it
or-
in with, he's gonna put it in with the wood chips and make the mulch out of it.
That'll make,
Okay.
that'll make it compost better.
Yeah, got it.
Right.
All right, well, if there isn't any comments from the commissioners, I'd like to move on to the public portion. So if there's any members of the public participating remotely who'd like to comment on this application, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone. Mr.
I
Rossetti,
think a representative or perhaps a property owner is raising her hand. Angela, you may speak if you'd
Hi,
like.
everyone.
oh, wait, Mr. Rossetti, hold on.
Oh,
How many people have identified themselves?
None,
We have nobody at all that raised their hand.
except for her. No.
Okay, because I just have to ask if there were, if any of them are public officials, elected officials, and it doesn't sound that way. So, ma'am, please state your name and address, and you could proceed with your comments.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for convening at this meeting tonight. My name is Angela Thomas. My husband has been the property owner since I think around 1998. We bought the property. I just wanted to weigh in on a couple of things that Mr. Shepherd had said and just kind of give my knowledge of what I know of Mr. Valeda so far.
Mhm.
Very gentle, older gentleman who was in the landscaping business for his whole career, and he's almost kind of semi-retired. And what I know from what he said, he's sort of doing this just as a little bit of way to keep himself occupied in his older years, and what he learned throughout his career, that he identified that there's a lot of these small landscapers that need to be able to do something with this material. So I think he's just kind of found a natural fit for him at this time. It's kind of what Miss Elaine had said about it. Essentially, it's composting is basically what it is. And I just wanted to say that field has been empty for years since Satin, which is now Reza, moved all of their Sealand containers out of there. And we've been trying to figure out what to do with the the flat land that's out there. And I actually really like this idea of Mr. Valeda being there. It's natural materials. And I think it's a great fit for up there on the hill. I don't see it being a lot of noise being made. Not a lot of employees up there. I think it's a rather low level, business endeavor here. So I just, as one of the owners, wanted to weigh in that we are, in favor and like this as a use case for up there on the hill. So thank you for hearing me, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Thomas. Your residency is where? I didn't hear that for the record.
I live in Hawaii.
Oh, okay. All right, very good.
You poor thing.
Beautiful picture.
I'm actually in Texas, though, visiting my mom
okay.
right now, but yes,
I was gonna
normally
say,
I'm
gee,
there. And Mr. Shepherd has also been, as you may know, the engineer. He knows that property probably better than anyone. He's
right.
been the engineer on that property since the day we bought it. So if
Mhm.
he has his seal of approval on it and tells us it's great, and he's done all the measuring and the setback and the moving around of everything, I have a lot of confidence in what he's put forth tonight.
Okay, thank you very much for taking time to address us.
Thank
Mr. Rossetti, is there anybody else from the public that has indicated they'd like to address the commission?
No.
Okay. All right, last call. If there's anybody from the public that would like to address the commission on this application, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone. Okay, doesn't sound that way. So how does the commission?
Can I just ask a question? I would
Sure.
assume that the public notices went out to all of the businesses in that up there on Oliver Terrace.
Good point. Who was in charge of that, Mr. Shepherd?
I did not do the notices.
Staff, does anybody have proof that notices were sent out? That there was a public hearing?
I believe that Elmer did do that.
Yeah, usually the staff gets a
Proof.
submission.
Green cards,
Yep.
green return registered receipt cards.
Yeah, Mr. Rossetti, what do you know about this?
Our office has not received receipts or seen them uploaded, but if the applicant can show proof of that,
Well,
they're
they
welcome
should
to.
have showed proof. Was that explained to them? Did they put up a placard saying that there was a public hearing that was going to take place?
I would suspect that if you don't have it, he probably didn't do it, because we weren't sure of the date of the public hearing. So I wasn't involved with that part. So if they
Public
told them
hearing
the
was to
date
be
of the
taken,
public
it was
hearing,
supposed to be 2 weeks ago. And because it was going to be the only item on the agenda, I canceled the meeting, and staff was aware of that and was going to contact the applicant. So,
right, so if they contacted him, but alls I know is I don't know that he did that.
I'll make a motion to continue this public hearing.
I'll
Uh,
second.
All right, to tell you the truth, I don't even know if it's like a legal public hearing because we have no proof that something notice was sent out.
Well, we can't close it.
No, we can't.
Probably just best to continue it and then let's fact find and then we can regather regardless and go from there.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna
can
say, we'll check with Corporation Counsel on that. And in the
So-
morning, I will ask staff to show evidence whether or not a placard was signed out. Because they come from the zoning office. So they should know.
Right, so they could do certified mailing, they don't have to do return receipts, right?
Well,
We
if
could just
this public hearing is invalid if they weren't noticed. So we're giving them the
Noticed,
benefit
right.
of the fact to prove that it was noticed and we can move on. If it wasn't
we-
noticed, then it's a void. It's voided.
Right.
This whole public hearing is voided and you have to start again.
But we don't do return receipts anymore with the green cards. We just do certified mailing.
Yeah, but other applicants have shown the post office form that shows exactly who was sent what.
Exactly, that's certified mailing.
Yeah, there's gotta be some documentation.
returns.
somewhere.
Okay, I referred to the green card because that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Attorney
That's
Thomas
old
holding
school.
up and
I
waving.
know.
Yep.
You're
All right.
showing your age.
So, Commissioner Parkins, did you make a motion to continue the public hearing?
I did.
Okay, is there a second?
And I think Commissioner Ticky seconded it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So on the motion to continue, Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Cristiano,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky,
Aye.
Commissioner Harger votes aye. Motion is to continue is passed by a vote of 5-0. Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Shepherd. Okay, so now we're in the public portion of the agenda. If there's any member of the public that would like to address the commission on any topic not on the agenda, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9. If there's any member of the public that would like to address the commission on any item not on the agenda, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9. Mr. Rossetti, is there anyone there?
There is not.
Okay, so moving on to other business, no comments from the chair. We don't have a subcommittee chairperson at this time, except for Commissioner Amato. Is there anything that you wanted to point out, Commissioner Amato?
No. I'm
Okay,
good. Thanks.
very good. Mr. Rossetti, any comments from the staff?
Not at this time.
Okay, is Ms. Castro still with us?
Yes,
Okay, any comments, Ms. Castro?
not at this time, thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes, and the chair would like to table approval of these minutes. Is there anyone that has any objection to that?
Not at all.
Is there a motion to table approval of the April 10th and 17 minutes?
Mr. Parkins will make that motion.
Second from,
I'll second.
thank you.
I don't know why, but it's okay.
I'm just looking at the hour. So,
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that.
so there's a motion to table the approval of the April 10th and 17 minutes from Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Amato on a roll call. Commissioner Cristiano,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 5-0. So seeing that there's no other item on the agenda, the chair declares this meeting is adjourned as of 9:12 p.m.
I feel like we just got off a roller coaster.
Good night.
Night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Roller coaster and a Mighty Mouse and all those other carnival rides.
Exactly.